Warning. This show contains content intended for adult audiences. The language is crass at best and downright insulting most of the time. This is all made for the sake of comedy and poor sophomoric taste. The skits are parodies, and any similarity to real people or stories is purely coincidental. Any insults hurled at any one human is made in jest. We're just covering our bases for when one of you skins your knee on an internet insult. We love you. Again, this is all a joke, whether you laugh or not. Not just the show, but this waking existence. The great cosmic giggle. Try not to take it seriously.
15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo.
Now, I'm sure that most of you know the old story about the astronaut who went far out into space and was asked on his return whether he had been to heaven and seen God. And he said yes.
Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries, and sentient artificial intelligence. Join us on this journey to find the others. Because no matter where we find ourselves in this multiverse, the act of existing is all too familiar.
Guys? Is anybody out there? Hello?
The mushroom has a tremendous problem-solving ability.
Herb is a plant. Herbs are good for everything.
As we look across this great expanse and stare at the stars, we can't help but be reminded these lights, though we're seeing them all at the same time, happen across a multi-billion-year delta. Some of those fires burned millions of years ago, some billions, but all of them happened so we could experience them in this one singular moment.
They called us scouts. They called us seekers. They called us Hoosier. But we were destined to question everything.
I don't know about you, but as for me, the question has already been answered. Should we be here? Yes.
It's the Hoosier Sophisticate Show. Question all the things that you know. Steve likes the weed. Steve likes the weed. Tell you about DMT. The DMT. Hoosier Sophisticate Show. The Hoosier Sophisticate Show. Hoosiers with the drink. Sophisticated blasphemy. It's the Hoosier Sophisticate Show. Question all the things that you know. So let's set our minds free for the singularity. It's the Hoosier Sophisticate Show. The Hoosier Sophisticate Show.
join us and start your day with a gentle meditation from Hoosier Sophisticate. Let us all remember, we are only as good as our last breath. For this morning's meditation, we're going to look to the teachings of Osho and his Mystic Rose meditation. Osho's meditation techniques are simple, but they are quite powerful. Mystic Rose is very powerful meditation, but still easy to do. And now we'll start. Sit in a cross-legged position and close your eyes. Focus on breath and concentrate your mind on each part of the body, one by one, from feet to head. Allow your mind to spread in the whole part. Allow it to undertake a trip in the whole part. Use the technique of autosuggestion to relax the whole part and experience the resulting relaxation. Experience that each and every muscle, each and every nerve has become relaxed. And in the same way, attain the relaxation of the whole body. Now we will move on to the next step, that is opening of the golden gates. Let's open the golden gates of our hearts. Create a smile on your face and laugh for no reason at all. This will create high vibrations in your energy systems. The first part is laughter. For a few minutes, simply laugh for no reason at all. After a few minutes, you will notice how many layers of dust have gathered upon your being. The laughter cuts them like a sword in one blow. You cannot conceive how much transformation will come to your being with this simple method. Now let's move on to the next step of unlocking our inner windows. The second part is tears. The first part removes everything that hinders your laughter, all the inhibitions of past humanity, all the repressions. It cuts them away. It brings a new space within you. But still, you have to go a few steps more to reach the temple of your being. Because you suppress so much sadness, so much despair, so much anxiety, and so many tears. They are all there covering you and destroying your beauty, your grace, and your joy. In this step, tears remove your suppressed emotions. The third part is witnessing, the watcher on the hills. After the laughter and the tears, there is only a witnessing silence. Witnessing on its own is automatically suppressive. Weeping stops when you witness it. It becomes dormant. This meditation gets rid of the laughter and tears beforehand so that there is nothing to suppress in your witnessing. Then the witnessing simply opens a pure sky. And this is how you do the Mystic Rose meditation.
Good morning, sophisticated Hoosiers, Hoosier Sophisticate land. It's a lovely Tuesday, January 26th, year of our Lord 2021. Hope you find the sun shining on your face. Of course, if you live in the St. Louis area, that is not the case. The sun's not even out yet. Oh.
If you want the sun shining in your face, you can just come to the Hoosier Sophisticate studios, and the lights that we have here are basically like staring into the surface of the sun.
It's true. It's true.
Good times. Good morning.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning, babe.
Good morning.
How'd you sleep?
I slept really well.
Did you?
Not for a very long period of time, but it was very deep, restful sleep.
You get...
which is a win for me, yeah?
I think if I were you, I would watch how heavily I sleep. And
I do.
Dream about my murder.
I like you a lot. So
I'm a fan of you too. That's fair. I slept heavy.
Yeah.
I
noticed.
I was I was afraid that I was gonna, I don't know. My mind's racing here lately, and I was afraid I was gonna not be able to sleep, but that's never really been a problem of mine.
Never.
So
you sometimes fall asleep in mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially since you went to morning shows. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of, you just go until you can't,
Good morning, Ricky Starling. Hi, buddy.
Good morning to everyone. I'm actually going to pull
Good morning
up
to
all
Bruce
of the,
Elevate.
Good
morning, Karina and Diane and Dan Hendrickson.
Good morning to all of you. How are you?
Did you yeet me, Dan?
Dan's a yeeter.
Yes.
He's a yeetin' yeeter.
Let's see how far we can take that yeet.
I'd like to see it going well into 2023, 24, somewhere in there.
We're at like 1.2 thousand comments.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty.
I think it's hilarious.
I kind of knew what I was doing when I added it, but
sure,
I didn't. I just didn't know.
Sure.
How could you know?
How could you know? What we got on the agenda today? We've got a handful of things. I believe Kyle Kisner is going to join us in studio the third hour. I guess we'll talk a little bit about Fico oil. Being a veteran, using cannabis to for all sorts of different medicines and
and I don't want to.
I don't want to put anything in his mouth.
Same, but he's got a very specific type of
experience with cannabis.
Sure.
And
I'm fascinated to know how he's moved through it. Truly,
no doubt.
I'm a big old fan of Kyle Kisner.
I love it.
It's kind of a fun thing because I've been on the inside of all of this, but kind of on the outside as well. And I haven't had to look at this professionally before. And so I've just had the wonderful experience of being able to be friends with everyone, right? So you all know Kyle professionally, but Kyle's just my friend, right? So I get to hang out with my buddy today, and I'm excited.
Yeah, no doubt. That's actually kind of what I think always made this this show great. Is that we've been friends with everybody, and even though some of those friends aren't friends with one another, for the most part, we've kind of tried to. We've done a pretty good job of staying, above that fray a little bit. Good morning, Missy and Craig. Love you guys. Miss Steve. Missy, you're an awesome pickup. We all miss Steve. Steve's taking care of his family right now. Everything's all good. We're just gonna keep on marching this ball towards the goal line. So
we got things to do, you guys.
We got things to do. I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about a little bit. We're gonna talk about maximizing your own life. Maybe some of our favorite quotes. Let's see, what else?
We're going to do something that I thought was really fun.
What's that?
Was a dad jokes competition. The first person to laugh loses.
Oh, man. I got to find some dad jokes for us.
I already found all my dad jokes, you're in big trouble.
This puts me at a significant disadvantage here, baby.
I think the disadvantage is that I am wildly prepared.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
I like to front load my day. You know what I'm saying?
I do
know what I'm saying. How you guys doing this morning? I woke up with the sun shining out of my butt. I feel I used to not be a morning person, but since I started being a meditator, I'm definitely a morning person. I would call myself an advanced meditator, right? I would.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good.
Morning, Mike. So, yeah, I'm in a fantastic mood this morning, and I realized that my husband is a cantankerous, crabby
That's Tuesday.
butthead sometimes in the mornings, and
Tuesdays
so
are tough. I'm not a cantankerous butthead. I'm kind of a cantankerous butthead, actually. That's a fair assessment. That is a fair assessment. Got some new merch I'm gonna be putting out there here pretty soon. Some new designs, taking pre-orders on. So that should be pretty exciting. Look for that this week. Some hoodies, some winter gear that we've never really made.
looking forward to
no
that.
other reason.
What about
than
some kid gear for the Hoosier babes, little babies? Yes,
a
no.
little bit tough?
Is it?
The reason being is because, you know, when you're screen printing, just to give people a little inside baseball on screen printing, you know, the more times you can use one screen that you burn, the better, right?
Sure.
So if I make a screen for kids sizes, it has to get X amount. I have to print so many of them in order to make it even make any kind of sense.
I know.
Now, with that being said, you know, whatever I print on an adult shirt, I can't print on a kid shirt. And I could print what I print on a kid shirt on an adult shirt, but then it's going to look really small on an adult shirt.
Got it.
I could do it. It can be done.
Our youngest son is basically demanding Hoosier
yeah.
gear at this point.
Yeah, well, I get him.
He wants a
I can
sweatshirt.
embroider him something, or you know,
Cool.
embroidery is always easy. I can do that one off.
Cool.
but-
Easy peasy.
Easy
Lemon
peasy,
squeezy.
lemon squeezy. I got an update on some different stuff going on in Missouri in the political scene, talking about the war on drugs.
Okay.
There are some people working to end the war on drugs. Last week, supporters met in Columbia to work on marijuana offender clemency.
Great.
And this is from the Crossing Paths Political Action Committee. To work on marijuana offender clemency, they'd like to specifically recognize Jackson County Sheriff Mike Sharp. He's retired, former Columbia Police Department officer Gamal Castile, and New Haven Police Chief Christopher Hammond. On this point, a number of bills have been filed at this point to address various marijuana and drug policy issues. All of them can be further researched at house.mo.gov/legislation SP. We are particularly excited by Shamed Dogan's marijuana legalization proposal and Representative Michael Davis's drug defelonization proposal. It looks like there's significant buy-in on this issue from Republicans and law enforcement. So, and a variety of legislation to increase the employment opportunities available to people exiting the criminal justice system. After some delay, there's anticipate that there's going to be a psychedelic access bill to be filed by the end of the week by Representative Michael Davis out of Kansas City.
Really?
So, you know, just kind of trying to keep people in the loop without getting too political. Let people know kind of what's happening in the political spectrum. Yep. We've talked about Shamed Dogan's bill a couple of times. House Joint Resolution 30. Would completely erase the current text of Amendment 14, which is our medical bill.
Yes.
So
some people are really excited about that, and some people are really not.
Yeah, continue to allow medical marijuana recommendations from physicians and veterinarians, and would remove state fees and other regulations associated with the current system, including the current one-year requirement for renewing a certification. It would require testing, labeling, and consumer protection regulation. Removes penalties for marijuana possession and use. There is no limit on what an individual may possess or grow.
Oh.
Eliminate the controversial licensing provisions associated with Missouri's current medical marijuana program and allow any business license holder in the state to grow, process, and sell marijuana, and additionally prohibit discriminatory zoning practices.
Great.
Remove marijuana from Missouri's Controlled Substances Act. Release all marijuana-only offenders from prison, expunge all marijuana-related nonviolent offenses, and prohibit state law enforcement from assisting federal law enforcement in marijuana investigations.
Bless.
And it would tax medical marijuana at 4% and recreational marijuana at 12%, sending funds to Missouri veterans, infrastructure projects, and drug treatment programs. The reason I keep reading about this is because anybody who is opposed to this bill or might know You can get unlimited prints with a screen. I'll get back to that here in a second. There are people that have scoffed at maybe some of the people that helped put this bill together, write the language on it. And I'm not married to who is doing it. What I like is the language. What I need is for people to tell me why this language isn't good and the potential pitfalls that we may have in order to potentially give some feedback on this and shape it the way that we are. This, to me, has language that allows for us to have the most vibrant and fruitful cannabis market in the entire nation, if the world. So the reason I keep bringing this up is because I need people to shoot holes in it. If you have some issues with it, if that's because it now allows municipalities to potentially write their own legislation or things like that, all of the things that are wrong with it, I need to know what's wrong with it, because as of right now, this looks exponentially better than anything that that NORML or a New Approach Missouri has proposed.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, there are, I think, I don't think this is gaining a lot of steam because I don't think it was written by Democrats. Without getting too political, typically a lot of the people that are working with, call it cannabis organizations, reform of marijuana laws, all of these kinds of things, are typically left-leaning. And I'd call me hopeful or whatever. I've always considered, cannabis to be this great connector of political ideology. There's at least this one thing we can all agree on: the government has no place in it. So I think that a lot of the roadblocks that are attached to this are because of who is proposing the bills and the letter that's next to their name. So with that being said, I would ask all of my most liberal friends in the state who are very hands-on with our legislation to shoot holes in it.
Yeah.
Say what you don't like about it.
Yeah.
Thanks
for showing up.
Right? Say what you don't like about it. Say all the things that are bad about it, and then let's take it, because the blanket, the way that it's written, allows for the most people to be able to cash in on this plan.
Very good.
And I understand that some things are very important to people, whether that looks like social equity, whether that looks like criminal justice reform, whether that looks like access to actual medicine.
Right.
Whatever those things look like, the way that this bill is written kind of seems to address all of those better than anything we currently have or is currently being proposed.
Yeah.
So this isn't like me saying, hey, fall in line or whatever. This is, hey, let's shoot holes in anything that could be a potential pitfall of this program, of the way this legislation is written. Let's make it better, and then let's run with that.
Okay.
That seems to be, that's as cool as I can. Yeah, exactly. Punch holes in the bill. It's the only way we can make it any better. So to go back to your question, Mike, unlimited prints on a screen. Just like if you've been in the studio here and the stencils that are on the wall, a screen acts like a stencil. And what you do is you burn an image into a screen, and then that screen lays in like a tray. That tray comes down over a T-shirt, and then ink is dragged across it so that it can only come through where the art was burned into the screen. And each color requires a different screen to allow that to be drug onto the shirt itself, or whatever your screen printing process. So there is no limit to how many that you can use, but it gets cost prohibitive to do, say, less than 12 pieces because of the setup that it takes. So I agree with everyone. I agree with everyone's input. Then we create a bill that works for all. Yeah, man. Free market is the best for everyone. The Peter Meredith provision doesn't do much. Do people of color get a head start on getting licenses? Well, that depends. As long as people of color can go get a business license at all for any kind of business, the way that this reads is that they are instantly in business. They don't have to have $1 million.
Goodness,
they don't have to
that's
have $1 million
fantastic.
to score in any kind of process. They don't have to be patronized and perhaps given points or promised to be given extra points because of the way they look. They get to just They get to just be a part of the deal. If you live in a neighborhood that's predominantly black, and your business or however you've done business has predominantly catered to black people, you will be able to serve that community that you've already built cachet with, without like some savior coming in, some white savior coming in with $1 million in licensing to put it in their neighborhood and ultimately be the person that is cashing in on the neighborhood. For me, that is giving people the clout. That is giving people the ability to not only build up their community and people that look like them, and help employ people that look like them, and and think like them, because that's even more important.
Certainly.
It immediately overnight, if you own a corner store at Natural Bridge and Kings Highway, and you apply for the there is supposedly no prohibitive licensing this. You own a corner store, you're allowed to then participate in the cannabis market. So it's not going to. Personally, that's what I'm saying. That's what we need to find out. This bill would allow places like Riverport Amphitheater. It would allow them to sell pre-rolls or edibles at their deal. It pretty much allows everybody to get in on cannabis where they want to get in. With the legislation, are there any caveats for vet programs getting any of the tax money like was promised before? From what I understand, it keeps the 4% in place for medical users. And again, that's all things that we need to see how that is split out. I don't want to speak too much on it. The bill is 6 pages. So the way that it reads, it allows people to do a lot. Also, there are no possession or cultivation limits at home, which really opens the door,
doesn't it,
for what that looks like. Now, they're going to seek to regulate the commercial market, but if you're already caregiving for people, it sounds like, and I'm sure that there's going to be additional rules in, because what keeps people from, to me, that doesn't fix an issue, because there are people of color who lost the little bit they had with the medical market that was non-refundable. They should take that money they lost and put it toward their cannabis business with the new bill. But it doesn't do anything specific for people of color, which it should be specific because our history is specific. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. But people of color weren't the only people that lost their life savings, and so I
want everybody to get their money back.
I want every single person to get their money back. I hope the state loses their ass on all of the lawsuits, and I'm certainly.
But you should definitely be at the forefront of that. If you feel passionately about it, let's do something.
No doubt. And that's the thing, is like, the less people that look like me, I mean, I'm certainly in the fight with you.
Because the war on drugs is a war on brown people.
The war on drugs is absolutely a war on brown people. We know that to be true. And that's the other thing, is let's just stop calling the medical program the medical program. Let's just stop doing that, because there's nobody making medicine right now.
Right.
That people can legally buy.
Right.
So with that being said, I'm with you. Yeah, but people of color, for the most part, lost way more, because it's not like they already had a lot in the beginning.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's all fair. Yeah. Hard for me to argue with that.
Totally.
Hard for me to argue with that. When I get up in the morning, just like any other person, I get up and I make sure I want to make sure that I keep a roof over my family's head, and I want to make sure that I keep food in their mouths, and whatever extra I have, I try to give to things that I don't believe to be right. That's what it is. I think all of us are doing everything that we can, and if that's what that provision looks like, then then I want to speak out for that. There is no I mean, on this show, I run commercials all the time about how 50%. First off, America is the most incarcerated country in the world, so land of the free, my ass. And second, to build on that, most of those prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders, and most of those prisoners are black or Hispanic.
Yeah.
All of those things are 100% true.
Totally.
I don't
I don't see myself as the great white hope or some great white savior. I don't plan on going into North St. Louis and saying, but I can easily stand side by side with my brothers and sisters,
and our family,
with my friends and literal family.
Yeah.
That's right. And when they're all saying something, because my tune has changed so much going back to, I mean, just because I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm maturing, you know, and things that I thought were, well, this is just the right way to do things and this is just how we're going to do it. Well, that's all of that's. Yeah, okay, it's easy to distinguish right and wrong, but when you see that not everybody is playing by the same set of rules,
not even close.
It is fucking deflating.
Not even close
and,
to the same
And you know
rules.
what? And we got to make some space for people to come to that reality. We got to make some space for people. We got to give people space to learn in that. But
love
also,
you too,
yeah, man, we love you too. Also, you know, here's the thing is like, I know that the people that wrote this bill, I know the person that wrote this bill happens to be a person of color, right?
Okay.
I know that many of the people that run the PAC that are pushing this bill are also people of color, you know? So I don't think that conversation would be very difficult to have. We just got to show up to have it. You know what I'm saying? I'm
happy to have that conversation.
I can tell you this. There's a lot more people of color involved in getting this bill passed than there ever was with Amendment 2.
It's
at least from what I've seen. And that's just from what I'm saying. I'm really not trying to make this or that because I don't feel like I'm best equipped for that. And
I agree.
One of these days we're going to get Levon on this show. We just kind of
Levon, is he in?
He's in KC, but he's a St. Louis boy for sure. So
okay.
we're going to get him out here. We had a little misconnection back a couple weeks ago. It's tough. You know how it is. We just drove across the state too. Especially when our show's on a Monday or something. So we just need to make a weekend of it. Get Levon out here maybe for the next big party we have, and we'll just pre-record or something like that. The thing is that I want Levon out here because I want him answering questions as they come in. So anywho, I'm bringing this up because it's not gaining a lot of momentum in the cannabis industry, but the language reads like a cannabis user's wet dream. So what I need is for all of the people in the political know that kind of understand how things have been undermined in other states and everything. Because we talked to someone in the industry the other day, and they're like, from what I understand, this new bill completely guts the medical program.
Totally. I was shocked.
Well, it does in that it strikes a line through all of it. And if I was one of the license winners that had, say, my life savings, which, attached to this, I would be like, oh, well, fuck. I would then maybe go look for maybe a refund on my licensing.
Absolutely.
Or something along those lines.
What about like a class action lawsuit? Is that something that
I'm not
100%
sure on how what that would look like or how that would work.
Because they were robbed.
But there were more people that were robbed of their life savings than people that would have got the licensing with their life savings, right?
And I think it was designed that way, wasn't
and
it?
I 100% believe
sure looks
it was
that way.
designed that way. It certainly looks that way. And so to me, I think that this makes it allows everybody instantly to, like all of these people that walked around at all of these conventions and things like that, meetings, meetups, fundraisers, things like that for Amendment 2 that were pretty much, I mean, they were always hopeful. They didn't think that anything was a guarantee, but they damn sure didn't think that most of the people in the room weren't going to be license winners. Most people thought that they were going to get into this in some way.
And the saddest part was like just being a part of the industry and watching everybody cross their T's and dot their I's and go over and over and over and over the same language to just maximize the potential for their success and the absolute devastation statewide. Like it was very, very difficult as a friend to help hold people up through that.
Yep. Morning, Kush Coach. I have a friend who really wants to invest in this industry, and she's very excited about the returns her people have promised, but knowing that there is no medicine just makes my heart hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people talking about returns. I know so many people who would benefit from having FICO available, and I always think of the people who lost who could have at least tried the medicine. No question about it. Why isn't Normal promoting the Dogan bill? Oh, KC Weed Blog. You're going to give me, James, you're going to get me going
James.
this morning. Well, I believe that's because Normal is a dinosaur. I think that Normal is just an absolutely outdated and increasingly irrelevant organization. because if ultimately they can't get behind a bill that says all marijuana offenders are immediately released from prison
That's a
and
problem.
expunged, that's their job. Is the
Literally.
reform of marijuana laws.
Right.
It is not to push new approaches measure, but I'll be damned if Missouri Normal didn't just do everything they could to push 128. If they were as passionate about the reform of marijuana laws as their name suggests, they would be getting behind this and they would be poking potential holes in what this bill does. I know people who duplicated every word on multiple apps and only got one, whereas I know people who got 16 licenses but used different names. No doubt. I actually heard something pretty interesting the other day about how a lot of the cultivation licenses were awarded, and there was one consulting firm who I actually don't know the name of, so I can't even out them if I wanted to, but they had a list of lead growers from all over the country, people that had 10 to 15 years of experience, and these lead growers were charging $50,000 up front to put their name on an application and another $50,000 once the application was awarded, and many of those applications for cultivation were approved. So there's so much fuckery.
I just feel like if
going
financial transparency, like how a nonprofit organization has to carry itself, financial transparency is super important. But that also takes away people's freedoms, and so it's a hard thing to shake. But I would love to know who is doing what where.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that confuses me the most. Like, this person works for this company, but this person also consulted for this thing, and they did this thing, and then, like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I feel like there were just sharks waiting,
like,
and they just use the cannabis industry as just another industry to profit from versus people who are, in the game, the head shops that have been here for 30 years, that, it's misplaced. And I know that that's prevalent in every industry, but this industry specifically saves people's lives, right? So we need to make some room for that.
No doubt. Yeah, when I bring this up, it's because I am truly I want to know what's wrong with this, because the way that it reads, like, I realize that I'm being a little Pollyanna-ish because it's utopian.
Yeah, me too.
It's utopian for me. The way that they're writing this out, I'm like, oh shit, like this addresses all of the things that I'm worried about. Like this covers all of my bases. This allows everybody to be a part of this.
And so if we've learned anything, if it's too good to be true,
it probably is. And so what I need is people in the know, people who are intelligent about the way that this stuff works, to blow it up. Tell me what's wrong with it, so that I can have an answer, or so that I can make them have an answer for it as this pushes forward.
Okay.
And that's just where I'm living on that. It's but the way that it's written is really interesting, because as it reads, I don't think that there is a more all-encompassing cannabis legislation bill written everywhere. It's what I would want guaranteed to me at the federal level, for sure. Completely removes cannabis from the controlled substances list.
It frees all of these people.
Well, geez, I mean, once you do that, there's nothing to make people criminals over. It's removed from the controlled substances list. No cultivation or possession limits. Oh, okay. I mean, we already have a pretty awesome home cultivation setup as it is, but it's still not like, it could still be better. It still handcuffs like really great growers, like Levon or Vernon or Jason Long or George Nolan or any of these guys who are capable of growing world-class medicine. They can still only provide for themselves and 2 other people.
Sure.
So it still is limiting. So why not all of a sudden take the freaking, just take the reins off of these guys and let them do what they do. Let the people who are experts at what they do serve a market that they are best equipped to serve. I've toured massive facilities with people whose head growers have never grown a cannabis plant before, ever.
It's alarming.
That is a
I would never go into business
scary deal.
In a bakery with somebody who had never made a cookie before, right? I would never sign up financially for somebody to just be like, you know what? Invest all your money. Put your whole heart and soul into this. Oh, by the way, we're going to need some recipes. I have no idea what I'm doing. Right? Let's Google some cookie recipes.
I'm joined by my
potato,
my little brother this morning, and let's see here. North America Transitional Unification of Reforming Laws. Natural. Change that dinosaur called normal, and let's form a new organization called Natural about reform drug laws. Period. I'm with that.
Let's do it.
I am with that.
You think you just made it up? I call that divine intervention, sir. Serendipity. Scott, you're making me laugh.
Hang on. I'm going to need her to hear this, so let's go ahead and kick over here.
What are we listening to?
Do that here.
Who's the smoke show sitting next to Craig this morning? Got me all robobo this morning. Who's squirt?
Hey, Alan.
Z.
Hey, Alan. Alan's firing on my wife, and I'm kind of into it.
Cool.
Kind of into it. Whatever.
Okay.
I like it when guys fire on you, babe.
That's not a guy.
How
giving him
dare
too much
you?
face. Do you know your brother?
How dare you? I'm good right now.
Robots don't have feelings.
Oh, that's gonna hurt his. That's gonna really hurt him. Where there's no way he's not gonna climax after you talk to him like that. Anywho,
that made me really emotionally uncomfortable.
I think they are trying to create an international market, which in 5 years.
Good morning, AMAC.
Exporting. Ooh,
good morning, Rick
that's
and
very
Scott.
interesting. That is quite interesting. And I think there's probably some truth to that for sure. It would be a hell of an export for America. I think it's something that, not that great weed isn't grown all over the world, but I'd say
Israel's doing big things with cannabis.
Israel's doing real good things. A-Train, what's happening, buddy? That laugh, though, they could hear it in there.
He's got a great laugh. And it's funny because our youngest, he's kind of a showman, he's a bit of an entertainer, and he kind of adopts people's laughs. And I think that he's settled on Scott's laugh as his laugh.
Cool.
And it's pretty
fair.
cute.
That's pretty fair. What else were we going to talk about? Oh, yeah. So I actually wasn't finished. Also, in just kind of what's going on in Jeff City. This is your Jeff City update from the people at the Crossing Paths PAC.
Very good.
This is information that's coming across to me, and I just want to put it out there. This was filed by Representative Sherry Tolson Reich. House Bill 316 provides that the supervisor of liquor control shall not prohibit a person from participating in the sale of alcohol solely on the basis of being found guilty of a felony offense. This bill also repeals language requiring an employer that has a liquor license to report to the Division of Liquor Control within the Department of Public Safety the identity of any employee that has been convicted of a felony. Not exactly sure what, but it looks like Representative Tolson Reich has filed a few bills. House Bill 504 specifies that certain offenders found guilty trafficking drugs in the second degree shall be eligible for parole after serving 10 years. House Bill 546 by Ron Hicks out of Daddin Prairie allows certain marijuana-related offenses and violations to be expunged if the offenses or violations occurred in Missouri prior to the issuance of a patient identification card. I think that's good. Allow certain marijuana-related offenses and violations to be expunged if the offenses or violations occurred in Missouri prior to the issuance of a patient identification card.
So basically they're saying, since it's legal, go get your card.
Since it's legal now, yes.
If you did it before cards were available.
Since we're recognizing it as medicine,
right,
you shouldn't be a criminal.
So pay us your money.
Yeah, pay us
for your license,
money.
And then we'll let you not go to jail for 10 years.
Barbara Washington, Democrat out of Kansas City, Senate Bill 120. This act provides that if a person has been convicted after December 31st, 1997 and before August 28th, 2021 of the offense of possession of marijuana in an amount of 35 grams or less, the court has an affirmative duty to expunge such conviction from all official records.
Bravo.
Beginning August 28th, 2021, any person convicted of the offense of possession of marijuana in an amount of 35 grams or less shall have such conviction expunged. All official records shall be expunged by the court on the day the person is convicted.
Did you know that if there's
That's
not
pretty cool.
Did you know that if there's not a victim, there's not a crime?
Yeah, no doubt.
Did you know that?
Shout out to Senator Barbara Washington, Democrat out of Kansas City. That's pretty neat. So it's essentially just expunging all of it. And then you got House Bill 704 filed by Representative Michael Davis, a Democrat out of Kansas City. Reduces the penalty for simple drug possession from a Class D felony to a Class A misdemeanor. What that's moving in the right direction. And then let's see, House Bill 706, also filed by Michael Davis out of Kansas City, removes the prohibition against convicted felons running for public office after 10 years. Kind of some pretty cool stuff what's going on. That's what I want to know.
Good morning,
all
Jessica.
The criminals convicted of cannabis will be released? So the way that the bill that I first brought up this morning reads is that it will expunge all marijuana crimes. It will expunge all marijuana only offenses. So
nonviolent.
Yeah, just marijuana only. So
I see. Okay.
I don't know about compensation.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's hard
sure
to
on
do.
that, but that's something that's an interesting
I've seen that
thing
before
we need
a couple
to
of
check
times
out.
with like wrongful murder accusations. You know, they've been able to go back and fight for that, but it's pretty rare for that to happen. We have friends, Christina Frommer and Chris Smith, that work with the Convict
Project?
Thank you. Sorry, it's very early. And they are subject matter experts and things like that. So I'd love to have them on.
They're just awesome.
They really are.
They're just fucking awesome. I love
Couple
Chris.
goals.
I love Chris and Christina. Yes, for sure, a couple goals. But mainly because they're not compensated to travel across the state and go sit in the courthouses for these people.
Yeah.
They do it because they recognize a need for support for people in some of their darkest and scariest moments.
Yeah.
And because many of us, we all know the healing benefits of cannabis. We all know how how wonderful this flower is and what it can do for the quality of life of so many of our neighbors and loved ones, that it does seem absolutely crazy to penalize people and throw them in cages for using it. We're all pretty much in agreement that throwing people in prison for cannabis is nuts, but it takes a lot of effort to drive and show up in a courthouse in northern Missouri in the middle of nowhere to go sit for someone you don't know, but that's something that they do. And the people that volunteer to work with Convict Project do. It's such a noble and worthy pursuit, and I can't speak highly enough of Chris and Christina. I think they're great, and
really
also
fun
Joni,
on a float trip.
And also Joni Harshman. A lot of the work that she does through her law firm. She works hand in hand with the Convict Project. Just people that care, people that really care, and that are getting a lot of skin in the game. I'm so thankful that I don't require FICO to survive, but I'm willing to stand up and throw hands for those that do.
Yes,
Fucking
ma'am.
Right. Fucking right. Kansas City is ready to roll. We just need to get executives and advocates out of the way. I heard that. I heard that, man. No doubt. Asazej Snave says, good morning, beautiful. Well, good morning to you, too. Thanks. I feel pretty beautiful this morning. I do.
Feeling pretty good about myself.
Feeling myself.
Yes,
feeling
sir.
Myself. I don't know. What else are we going to talk about?
We are going to talk about maximizing the joy in your everyday life.
Maximizing the joy in our everyday life seems like a great 8 o'clock hour. Should we bring Brotato out here? And,
I think so. Are we about ready to go to a break yet?
Yeah, we're right
and
up
then
against a break, and then I think maybe we'll bring Scotty out here if he wants to. He doesn't have to, but if he wants to.
Scott, you want to come hang?
He'll flip a coin. Very good. So maybe he'll come, maybe he won't.
That's what she said.
Where's my gosh damn Jews harp?
You just...
No, that's what it's called. I tried to be politically correct. I search for jaw harp all the time. it comes up juice harp.
I don't care what the internet says.
No, that's whatever. The Jews insist on it being called a juice harp. Without calling it a juice harp.
Is that the official statement from the Jews?
You're kind of slapping them in from all of the Jews.
I feel like that's tricky, sticky, bad news bears.
From all of the Jews. I have questions for Scotty. Oh.
Who is that, Jessica?
I
bet you do have questions for Scott.
All right, let's go to break before these old broads devour my brother. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Sorry about it.
Oh, hey. It's Adam McChesney with Ms. Marketing. We specialize in lead generation, filling your pipeline, and taking care of your payments. Give us a call today.
Adam from Ms. Marketing took me from 10 leads to 300 leads in a month, and I became the strongest boy in the schoolyard.
He increased the revenue for my charter fishing business by 30% in 1 month. Ms. Marketing.
What was that Facebook algorithm? What was that Instagram? Ms. Marketing.
I know it's late, baby, but you got me thinking about my dream home.
Yeah, girl. You know, Bungeon Property Group doesn't just sell houses, they sell dreams. You know when the best time to talk about dreams is? In the middle of the night. That's why Bungeon Property Group is famously open 24 hours a day, so you can whisper sweet nothings in the middle of the night. Oh yeah. Tell me all your dreams of white picket fences, in-ground pools, and I'll find them for you. In an area with a low crime rate, general proximity to nice parks, walking distance to the grocery store, easy access to the highways. A place where you can offer a quality education to your children, all while feeling safe in your front yard while they play. Let me talk that dream house talk to you. Let me be your dream realtor. Adam Bondred.
Hey, DJ Shabba.
Hey, ladies. I'm gonna smoke a little weed, boy. I wanna grow some trees, boy. When I grow all the weed that I smoke, and I blow all the trees that he grows, and I smoke all the weed that I grow, and I grow all the trees that he smokes. Well, I'm growing and I'm smoking, so I go see Bo. Puff, pass. And I smoke what I grow, yeah. Grow active solution. And I'm growing the hydro.
Bo knows hydro.
And I'm growing the hydro.
Grow active solutions.
Bo no hydro. Bo no hydro. Bo no hydro. Bo know how to grow. Bo know how to grow. Grow active solution. Bo know how to grow. Grow active solution. I'm an outlaw, check it and see. Want a poster looking like me. Checking the swamp man for a pretty girl. Being an outlaw in an outlaw world.
Hey, I'm an outlaw, check it and see. Want a poster looking like me. Walking my hound dog, surfing that swamp. Catching crow that do the sweetly stomp. Everybody do the sweetly stomp.
It's a stomp. It's a wiggle, turn around, a little tickle. It's a stomp, move your feet, head on down to Sweet Leaf. Head on down to Sweet Leaf. Head on down to Sweet Leaf.
Dude, man, get on down to Sweet Leaf Emporium and do that Sweet Leaf stomp, man.
Hey guys, it's me, Kippy the Crazy Koala Bear.
and I'm here to tell you about James Carlton Insurance.
Kids, quiet down.
It's the best.
Kids, quiet down and listen to Kippy.
Grown-ups need insurance, and Uncle James can help.
Right on.
Grown-ups need insurance. He's got the best reviews on Yelp. Grown-ups need insurance if they want to protect their house.
Yes, sir.
Grown-ups need insurance if they want to properly bury a spouse.
That's a bit morbid.
Grown-ups need insurance if they drive a truck.
Okay.
Grown-ups need insurance just so they don't get...
Whoa, Kippy, you can't...
Well, I was just going to say
cannot.
get in trouble.
Okay, well, it
you
sounded
don't
like you
want
were
to
going
get
to
in trouble.
sounded like you were going to say something else. James Carlton, State Farm Insurance. You can find him online at carltoninsurance.net, or you can call him at 314-961-4800.
Native hemp inside of me. 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 I got 1,800 milligrams going real good down my throat. When I wake up in the morning and I need a pick me up. Well, I grab my bottle of native hemp and I splash it on my tongue. Lap, lap, lap. Native hemp inside of me. Native hemp inside of me. Native hemp inside of me. Native hemp inside of me.
Native hemp extract, available at HoosierSophisticate.com. Enter code HOSO, H-O-S-O, at checkout for an additional 30% off.
Say hold your tits.
Hold on to your tits. Welcome back, Hoosier Sophisticate Morning Show, Hour 2. It's a Kohler extravaganza this morning. Babe, what are we going to talk about? We can talk about all kinds of things. Jessica's got a question for my brother. And let's see what else we got here. I think she had a fungi question. We can talk about. We're going to talk
You
about
got
some.
here just in time to watch your mom flirt with my brother.
So my favorite part was that Mike Linder came in here Friday and he goes, "What?" He's looking at this thing. He's like, "What is this thing?" And I was
I
like,
saw him like what?
and he was like, "That's not a sound effect that you guys have on the soundboard." And I'm like, "No, I drove everybody nuts around me for about 3 days, just going."
Oh, it's been longer than 3 days.
Anyhow, I need a
Morning,
washboard and some
Dennison.
spoons. Some spoons would be
Spoons
sweet.
would be awesome.
I have some spoons at home that we can learn how to play too.
You have spoons at home?
Yes, we do.
I
Miska?
have a lot of spoons.
Well, it's not
No, we
just
have,
like
the
these are like
instrument spoons.
attached at, like with a handle, so they're like
Two
training wheel
that
spoons.
are like back to back.
Hey, how does babe talk on that mic? Let me see how you're coming through.
Training for kids.
Gotcha.
Talk on that mic, sweetheart.
Good morning,
Me?
Dennison.
Nope, just you, miss.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Okay, I got you. No
Hey,
sweat.
babes. It sounds pretty loud in here.
It sounds. I'm gonna turn that part off.
Great, because it's a
that
little
doesn't-
distracting.
Because I don't need you to do that. But what I do need.
Oh, nice, Jessica. Jessica says she's starting Lion's Mane.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I know I don't want to speak on her medical stuff on the internet, but she's got some neurological things going on. Yeah.
I am wanting, not eating. Gotcha. Spoon
Got it.
Man, come together with your hands. Save me.
Sing it, Dennison.
Washboard, spoons, banjo, and you got a Hoosier Bluegrass band going, no doubt.
Don't threaten me with a good time. I love bluegrass music.
Me too. I have a friend that plays the spoons and jaw harp.
Jaw harp.
Well, it's
interesting.
it's a juice harp.
That's interesting that it's a jaw harp.
I want to just play it like the Russian shaman lady.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Have you ever seen that video? I'll show it to you afterwards. It's crazy. She does she makes these noises like timber wolves and
she's
playing,
easily a 10.
She's playing a jaw harp. Oh, she's a smoke show. She's
easily
6 foot tall, blonde. She looks like fucking.
Man, that'd be intimidating. You see a really
dude,
attractive woman,
and she's wearing she looks
oh.
like fucking Xena warrior princess. Like she's wearing some kind of
she knows how to expertly remove your soul.
Amulet and
for
shit.
Sure.
Like I was just waiting for a falcon to come fly in, swoop
sit
in,
on her
land
shoulder.
on her shoulder as
Yeah.
she's fucking going. Dude, it is one of the most impressive things.
Like the first time he showed me, I was straight up jealous. I was like, "Is this what you're doing with your time?" Like,
it is what I'm doing with my time.
Russian
My wife's like, "Have you been watching porn again?" And I'm like, "No, I'm watching this shaman lady play the Jew harp, but whatever."
jaw harp.
Dibs on tambourine girl. She's actually, and that gal plays a tambourine too. Allie, you can play the tambourine in our band.
Allie, please
Xena
come.
Warrior Princess is one of my first crushes. Laugh my ass off. Well, let me do you a favor then, sir. You need to watch the show Spartacus because you're going to see Xena's boobies a lot, sir. So go ahead and tune in to Spartacus, where you are going to get Lucy Lawless in very lawless ways. Big old fan of that show. Big old fan of that show. I'm just helping you out. Please post the link to this amazingly gorgeous Russian jaw harp player.
She is
I'll
incredible.
I'll do it right now. I will do it.
Like,
Guys,
do you
why
ever
don't you
see
start? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was like, do you ever see somebody and you're like, oh, that's what God intended. Oh, okay. That's what that was supposed to be.
Like, all I'm saying is, if the best way to do Amanita muscaria is drinking reindeer piss, I would drink reindeer piss if this gal gave it to me. That's basically
Same.
That's kind of where I'm at. She's like, here, you got to drink this, and I'm like, what is it? And she's like, it's reindeer piss.
I'm 14th generation 10.
And I'm like,
reindeer stand over you.
She milks a reindeer into my mouth.
All right. Anyways, Jessica, so I can actually help you with that. I'll message you after the show, and we'll get you hooked up.
Just like when I see you, Dennison. Exactly like that. Okay, so let's maximize the potential of our regular everyday lives, right? What does that even mean? So if we have ambition to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or if we have ambition to drive a Lamborghini, or if we have ambition to, I don't know, make $1 million in 10 days or something, that's fantastic. Most people don't actually want that from their life, though. And so I'm talking about regular-ass people and their regular-ass lives. How do you maximize the potential of your own life that you already have? I think we start with gratitude, and we call that radical gratitude, right? So I'm pretty known for making gratitude posts that include things like chapstick and running water indoors and access to allopathic emergency medicine.
Yep.
Anytime I pick up my phone and I call 911, somebody shows up.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's incredible, right? And so I think it's about not necessarily looking in the past. Like they say depression is when you look in the past and anxiety is when you look in the future. But really, we're going to go from like Baba Ram taught, right? Be here now. If I'm here now, what am I actually grateful for now? Mm-hmm. So I'm super grateful to have clothes on, so I'm not sitting here naked on camera, right? Simple
Makes one of us.
I think it's always that way, though. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, truly, what are you truly grateful for? We live in a first world country. If you make more than $34,000 a year, you are in the top 1% of the world. And I know it doesn't seem like that all the time, but you have access to emergency medical care. You have access to antibiotics if you need them. 24-hour food. We have 24-hour grocery stores. Like, truly getting kind of excited about that. Like, you don't have to walk uphill in the snow both ways to get to work, right? And that is a privilege, and you should see it as such. It's a privilege to get to go to work and earn $34,000 for your family every year. It's a privilege to get to wake up with 4 walls and a roof over your head, even if you have to work for it, right? And so we're going to start there.
Okay.
With gratitude.
I'm into it.
Big time.
I'm into it. I was thinking, the other day you showed me a video of a guy that was given like a roadside massage in Thailand. Or Vietnam. It was Vietnam, I believe, is where it was.
Yeah, he paid $2 American for a 90-minute roadside massage.
And dude, this guy cupped him, and he was giving him like chiropractic. He's on the side of the fucking highway. There's cars and
where they drive crazy over there anyway.
Anyway, but
Totally.
like this dude's like high-fiving dudes as they're riding by on their scooters and
Hi,
shit, and then
friends.
still like massaging people. But this looked like the most thorough body work that you have ever seen. And like, I'm like, damn, $2. Like, I'm not super into body work myself. I feel like, I got a good thing going.
He's delusional. He has no idea what he's talking about.
No sense in just turning wrenches on something that's running at peak performance. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But any which way,
The love of my life. That's the love of my life.
I was watching this guy do it, and you were talking about, you make $34,000 in America, and also like. It's weird because if you could just take your money, if you could come and make your money here and then go live there, well, geez,
You live like a king.
You would literally be living like a king.
It's 50 cents American dollars for a full meal for like a family of 5, right?
Yeah. So
it is interesting.
Yeah, you are amongst the wealthiest in the world, but
Certainly.
also kind of the world that we've created around us. I like to think of it like the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Like, you could probably live comfortable in any of the sectors except for the main sector. Like if you weren't a high earner, you couldn't afford to live there.
Yeah, if you have a phone, like you have access to information, do you not understand that it used to take months for information to get from one side of the country to the other, and it was diluted at that point. You're playing a very serious game of telephone, hoping you're getting the right things. You are privileged. I don't care what you say. Right?
Heck yeah.
That's just the truth.
Let's see what we got here. I'm going to post a screenshot of a news article I saw this morning. It was about Dr. Fauci opening a letter or package and getting some kind of powder in his face. All well and good and seems innocent until you read the quote from Fauci. He said, I opened it up and puff of powder and I lost that. Hang on a second. They started coming in hot here. All well and good and seems innocent until you read the quote from Fauci. He said, I opened it up and a puff of powder came all over my face and chest.
Wait, Fauci was the doctor
if only
that happened
he'd said
to?
white powder. What's that?
Fauci was the doctor that happened
Yeah,
to?
Dr. Fauci, yeah.
Huh.
Good morning, fam. Can't stay. I'm headed to a big crane removal, but had to stop in. We love you, Skittles.
Morning,
I'll tell you
Skittles.
what, I got two
Tell
or three.
Zigzag Aunt Missy loves him.
I got 2 or 3 trees on my property. I'll probably bring you out to St. Louis and put you up for a couple of days. If you cut them trees down, we'll put a pig over the top of them or something. We'll figure it out. I need somebody that knows how to remove trees.
We do have like 4 solid
in a
trees that
good
need
way.
removed, yeah.
Well, the funny thing is the previous owners of our house called in a tree removal company to remove the dead trees that were on the property, and they came down and cut the only 2 fucking live trees out of the fucking thing.
The kid that they sent, I think, was a little. He was on one.
He was altered.
He was altered. Yes.
Yep, right on.
Poor
Came
kid.
all over my face and chest. Okay.
So, Craig,
Yes,
where
ma'am.
do you think you can be more grateful in your own life?
Oh man, where can I be more grateful?
Yeah, like radical gratitude.
I could be more grateful. Where could I be more grateful? I'm a pretty grateful fellow. I could be more grateful, I suppose, for. I really am pretty grateful for what I have. I guess I could just show people my gratitude a little bit better. It would appear that maybe I look like I take things for granted. I don't know. I like to gas people up that make my life a little bit easier to move through. So I could probably be a little bit more grateful for that. I could be more grateful for even though no matter how far I let my body go, I feel good.
You're incredibly healthy.
I don't have aches and pains.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of real health issues and never really have. Anytime I do get sick, I'm over it within 24 hours.
Truly, yeah.
I just don't do.
I think it's because you eat food off the floor.
I 100% believe that. I think I've eaten food out of a trash can before, if I had to guess at it. Yeah, so
I think I've seen that actually.
I got some trees that need to go too. We'll make a whole. We'll do a whole Skittles tour. Yeah, we'll do a whole Skittles tour. That'd be pretty sweet. Line up a couple of cash jobs for Skittles and get it all right. I could be more grateful for the little things like what you were just talking about. It's easy to fall back into complacency of the privileges we have here in this country. Yeah. So I guess that's I could be more grateful and do more with my opportunity. I am a chameleon. I am as comfortable in a boardroom with executives as I am in a biker bar with outlaws.
Yeah.
Like I feel the same in both places. I have the ability to make people comfortable in both of those places. It's truly like it's my superpower to fit in wherever I'm at and make people feel good about what they're talking about or know just a little bit about everything in order to be able to talk about what people are comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily, my lack of gratitude for that looks like me not really practicing it, putting it to practice, or, because all of us are creatures of comfort, right? Like you fall into your comfortable circles, but really like I'm pretty good meeting new people and talking to new people. I'm like one of those weird ambiverts where like I can be extroverted. I have no problem being in front of people speaking. Public speaking is certainly a strength of mine. But I'm also really comfortable being like the guy in the corner of the party that's not talking to anybody. I can also be that guy too.
Yeah.
And so if there's bacon in the trash can, I'll eat the fuck out of it.
Who said that?
Dennis said.
Bacon. Why did the bacon ever get to the trash can?
I think that's
Dennison?
his point. Yeah, man. I mean, as far as my gratitude, that's something I probably need to sit with and find out what I'm not being grateful enough for.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We think that we're grateful for what we have, but are we though? Like, it's really about having conversations with yourself, right? Socratic method type conversations. Like, what do I actually want? Do I really like broccoli? Or did somebody tell me I liked broccoli? Or do I really like, pistachio gelato? Like, what do I really want from my life, and what do I have to do to get there? And so typically I think that if people focus on 4 or 5 areas of life that are very important to them, I think 6 or 7 is overdoing it. I think you're going to burn out pretty hard. But like really pulling it all the way back to day 1, lesson 1, what am I grateful for? What do I want to be grateful for?
Right.
And then moving through there, right?
Sure.
Scotty, what do you think that you could be more grateful for in your life?
A whole lot of things. I think that the past year has been a really big lesson for being grateful, especially like with situations that I presented myself with and the people that have come into my life. So just lessons that I'm grateful for, the expedited growth that has come into my life. And the price that comes with it too. Like some things are heavy, but I'm also grateful for, because my whole life I go through ebbs and flows of comfort with wealth as well. And like no matter what, I always figure it out. I'm never like excelling, but it seems to always be just enough. And I sometimes like to put myself into strenuous situations, and sometimes I'm grateful for having to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the ability, since we are in the 1%, just being in America or whatever, majority of us, my ambitions to succeed can actually provide something that I see as fruitful, rather than me succeeding in a third world country and still only being what can be,
I do
not being provided the creature comforts that we take for granted with the infrastructure that we have here in the United States. Like you could have $1 million in even in Bhutan's not a great example because it's technically the happiest place on earth, but still
they have gross national happiness is their number one
still
goal.
I don't have a bidet in Bhutan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
it's a different level. It's a different
level of living. Yeah. You find a way to be happy with what you got, and grateful for what you have. And that's what things I love is, right? Like it's
totally.
We had a guy in our group this morning that said, that he was having a really hard time and he's been riding a low. And also, typically, if you're surfing, low tides, like. There's probably somebody else there, right there with you. I woke up this morning. I'm like, man, I've been kind of riding pretty low myself this morning. And so, what do you do? you talk to people that are going through similar struggles, but then you get back to focusing on little things that really make you happy. Like you try to notice little things that are happening in the world that are funny or quirky, that are like little like just snippets of magic that are happening in reality.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the more and more you can fill your day with that, it chases out all of those things that your brain builds up as whatever, sadness, depression, whatever all the reasons your brain tells you that you're not happy. Typically the more you focus on all of the cool little shit that's taking place, the more likely, the quicker you're going to pull out of all of that.
Like just waking up. You woke up today,
right,
guys.
Also, I'm grateful for like these moments because my brother is comfortable in the extrovert. But, like this shit kind of makes me crawl a little bit, but I'm cool with getting over that. I'm excited to step into new aspects of myself, but yeah.
It's easier when there's people you love next to you too. You know what I mean? Like I can go hand in hand with any. Like I get, but where you're really good, where I'm not, is like you can confront somebody. You have no problem with being confrontational face to face with somebody and establishing boundaries and speaking up for what just doesn't sit right in your heart. Like I can speak to the masses and make everybody kind of comfortable with the way things are. You, I think, have no problem looking at people. Both of you looking at people and saying, "Well, that's."
It's actually my favorite thing we have in common.
People to be coddled. Some
It
people
doesn't
don't see it as coddling, but
you're soft. You're soft.
Because I know that no one's trying to hurt anybody's feelings.
That's
and
right.
I know that it makes a lot of people uncomfortable whenever they hear me call someone out. But a
Doesn't
lot
make
of
me
times,
uncomfortable.
even though they'll be upset or whatever it may be for sometimes weeks, a lot of times people message me and be grateful for it.
No doubt.
Like, dude, I haven't.
Well, so I think there's something to be said about you being a respectable contributor to our tribe, and so being that tempered, balanced, logical thing, and then saying, "Hey, fuck you," that's not okay. I think that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Once you establish kind of the respect of your, it's one thing to kind of shit all over people that don't really know you.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to do because you don't. At the end of the day, you don't really give a fuck what they think of you or what they care. But people that you love and people that you love who love other people, like conversing with someone who maybe someone else loves that you care deeply about. You want to make sure that you're kind of respecting everybody, and for me, a lot of times like my words cut pretty deep. It's not enough. For, like if I've gotten to the point that I am confronting somebody.
I like how gentle you are even with saying that. You're a monster.
He's got away with words. I've only seen it once,
if you want your soul slayed open and then somebody just walk away while you're bleeding out, have an argument with Craig.
But that's not what I want to do. I don't want to break anything.
Sure thing, boss.
Seen it.
Cool. Okay. We have no. I've never.
Pandora's box that never
gets
opened, but
comes
I've
open.
Seen that fucking open.
Yeah, it happens every now and then.
So
Anyway.
the reason that I'm so good at arguing with other people is because I'm in a relationship with you, and you've trained me over the years to defend myself, and so nobody can argue with me except usually for you.
But that's how our family communicated. It's just normal to be like, yell, get it all out. It's like, all right, it's normal. And we would make jokes. It's usually, it ended in a joke. Like, we were all hot and
yeah, you get the poison out. It's certainly
cracks a joke and everything's fine.
It's certainly one way to get the poison out.
And I'm glad that we're breaking that cycle. But
when people, no doubt, it's a good cycle to break. But it's also
was
really
hard to learn.
It's also really funny to like see somebody just like so mad, and then like
I mean, mad.
And then they do something that is just like the goofiest thing a human can do, and like it's so jarring what they do when they're out of their wits that not only is it hilarious to the people that they're arguing with, but it also stops them dead in their tracks. And and it's like, what? Like it's like this sobering moment for everybody. It's if you've ever you've ever been like just wicked drunk with multiple people, or if you've been frying with people and like everybody's just kind of laughing and laughing, and for the first little bit that they're laughing, it's like super fun, and then like about 40 seconds in, you're realizing that this is manic and kind of weird, and now you're not really sure why you're laughing, but you can't really stop laughing, but this isn't joy anymore. Now this is something that your body's just doing.
Purging.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that, and so
so from the outside looking in, the hardest part was that you guys do that, and it's this like not even a level 10, but like
and
a level
everybody's
12,
like,
13, 14.
Everybody's like,
no, and then you guys just go to lunch.
Yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
I need like 27 days to recover from that. Like,
that was what's weird for me is like, I'm like, I got the poison out. What are we still mad about?
Like, what are you mad about?
We already said everything we needed to say.
He goes, I went to bed and I woke up, I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, well, I was trembling in the corner all night, crying myself. Like,
oh man.
Difficult.
Let's see here. What we got here? I'm so grateful for the hard times. They really make you appreciate what you have. Can't love the good times without the bad. You got that right, Kush Coach. D. Collar says, there's a lot less regulation in those places, though. Regulation makes creating and growing a business very difficult. I agree. That's kind of going back to the Vietnam thing. Like, yeah, that dude's only charging $2 for a roadside massage. But it's a roadside massage. Like, there's people driving 80 miles an hour fucking 10 feet from you.
You could have a great massage. You could also die.
Dude, he had a whole case of the the
very high
cupping,
end,
like the nice glass cupping deals. Like he
was
like
very
40,
well trained.
He did like cupping. He did 40 cups. Then he rolled the guy over, did it all across his front.
It was
like,
a combination of Chinese medicine, deep tissue massage, and chiropractic care. Like
it was wild, dude.
He knew exactly.
It
what
was
he was
wild.
doing.
I was here
cool.
for every bit of it too. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
There has to be some like it's cheap because you're risking losing a kidney.
That's true.
You wake up, you're
that's
like,
why you just got to film it the whole
like,
day.
oh, I'm in a bathtub covered in ice.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is where it was going, but he's like, fuck, he's got a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the works. Get a lot.
A
of
massage worth dying for, says Dennison. Glad to have you here, Scotty. You're fucking brilliant, man. That's from Dennison. I appreciate that shit. Making people uncomfortable sometimes is good. Means you're making them think. That's from Amber. I love Amber. And apparently, so Kush Coach is he's like a evil weed genius. Not an evil weed genius.
He's a benevolent weed genius.
He's a benevolent weed genius. He's a mad weed scientist. And he, from Colorado, has seen that, we have a pressing issue for FICO. The way that our language is written is a bit prohibitive. And when I say a bit prohibitive, it's like all the way prohibitive about how people can create FICO at home. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I have an idea how to do this with a solventless method. And so I guess Amber, who, was right by Nolan's side throughout his entire journey, she was like, she's always trying to learn more about FICO and RSO and help people with their dosing protocols, because there really is there's not many places to go to get this information. And so apparently she jumped on a live with Coach last night.
Cool.
And was really quite blown away by his idea and how
Let's make some magic, you guys.
That's the deal, right? So anyway, Amber's I want to talk about Amber's nonprofit for a second. It's Nolan's Tribe of Nolan's Tribe of Warriors for Cannabis, and
I'm actually on the board.
You are on the board?
Yeah.
Put it on the board. That's what. Who is that? Probably the White Sox, I think. Maybe Hawk Harrelson. That's his home run call. Back.
I thought you were referencing put it on the glass.
You can. No, that's a home run call. You'd be like, you can put it on the board. Let me see who that was. That's gonna drive me crazy. Anyway, what are you grateful for, babe? Or what could you be more grateful for?
What could I be more grateful for? I don't know.
Yeah, Hawk Harrelson. Look at me.
I feel like I really challenge myself with this every day. I feel like I am an advanced gratitude practitioner. However, I think that what I could be more grateful for is the less advanced practitioner and being more patient with people who are just beginning on their journey, because I often do get in my feelings about being surrounded by spoiled brats, right? Like, you have literally everything in the world living in this country. You have literally I think skin color does come into play here, because obviously there's a disconnection, with laws and the way that lawmakers and law enforcers move themselves. But mostly we're doing pretty freaking good here in comparison to what we could be doing. And I get really upset with people like, I can't, and I don't have, and I me, you know.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
have a lot of space for that. So maybe I could be more grateful for the novice practitioner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
I just had I know we were talking about maybe teasing awesome dad jokes.
I'm into dad jokes all day long. You guys know. You guys
I just
know.
scrolled across one.
Did you?
That I don't know if it's a dad joke, but more of just kind of a harsh reality for some hobbyist musicians out there. But if you're in a Sublime cover band, you actually do have to practice Santeria.
I just hope that every cover band.
That's for our buddy Spencer. Spencer's awash with good dad jokes, and he's a
I
pretty
hope
good
every
little meme
band
lord.
is a Sublime cover band at one time or another. Like,
No
please be
doubt.
playing Sublime
Yeah, play
in your
Sublime.
band. Please.
That was my wife that posted that one. The communism leaving my body when I play Monopoly. Oh, that shit is so funny. I don't know why it's so funny, but
We're just gonna sit here and look at memes. And
yeah,
relax,
this is where
enjoy.
it's Tuesday. If you got a problem with it, well, it means you didn't
Piss
tune
off.
in. Yeah, piss off then. Oh, I got a song. It's called "John's a Big Fat Cunt."
So, Paul, do you think Ringo's the best drummer in the Beatles? I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think
in the
Ringo's
world,
the
I
best
don't
drummer
think
in the
Beatles.
Beatles. Yeah, I fucking butchered that one.
Why are elevator jokes so classic and good? They work on many levels.
Well, see. Bum, 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 bum. We're going to be joined by Kyle Kisner, I believe, in the third hour. I got a phone call that he is coming in hot. What else did we have written down there, darling?
We have what are our favorite quotes and why?
Lean on your own back or on your own spine.
Lean on your own spine. I like that one. I was always a fan of the grandpa from Grumpier Old Men, and he would say, "You can wish in one hand and crap in the other, and see which one gets filled first, huh?" So that was my quote in my high school yearbook was, "You can wish in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one gets filled first." I think I said crap in the other, but
I have two quotes actually, and I feel like they're very highbrow. So just
Highbrow, come on.
strap in,
I'm
right?
with it.
It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Teddy Roosevelt.
I like it.
I'm into that shit for real. But yeah, if that doesn't motivate
Car
you.
ran real good.
Car ran real good.
America's built on speed. Hot. What's this? Eleanor Roosevelt. America's built on speed. Was that off of fucking Talladega Nights?
I just wake up and piss excellent.
We were talking about that yesterday. It's like, you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
Bing dong, bing ding dong, bang dong, bong. Prune candy.
Prune candy, dude. That's such a funny movie. America's all about speed. Hot, nasty, badass speed. Eleanor Roosevelt.
That's fun.
Oh,
The
it is
Roosevelts.
pretty
Thanks,
fun.
Roosevelts.
It is pretty fun.
You ready for my next one?
Shout out to our buddy Nate Bowman, creating content for cannabis and battling social media bans. Adland.tv, if you check out Nate on cannabis. He's posted a link if you guys want to help him out. Nate makes great, short, consumable cannabis content for the industry. He's having important conversations. I'm a big Nate on cannabis fan. Got to meet him about this time last year at the Lake of the Ozarks.
That was a fun
the
night.
Grow Trade Fest kickoff party. And I hope hopefully COVID kind of goes away. Hopefully now that we've realized that polymerase chain reaction testing was not all that accurate, and the numbers are going to be cut in half from COVID underneath Joe Biden. Hopefully we can open this country up and we can start having some of our parties and stuff again. One that I would be really looking forward to is the party at the Lake of the Ozarks with the Grow Trade Festival.
Heard that.
That was fucking awesome.
It was litty titties for real.
It was. Being able to like party all night with my friends and then just walk to my room.
To your 5-star
in the
hotel room.
Like,
it was
pretty
fantastic.
fucking awesome. Yeah. Not to mention, I could walk outside and have a lure in the water, like in
on the lake. It was
yeah.
really beautiful. And that 5-star restaurant that we had breakfast in the next morning, and that's when
Dude,
I ate
Missy loved the whipped
I ate the
cream.
butter, and I thought it was whipped cream, and it was butter. And Jenny Elgin was looking at me like, "Baby, that's butter."
I was
Like,
watching. I was watching
Stop.
Missy.
I love butter.
Like,
I don't
go
care.
into this thing like
Butter's
and
my
I'm
roll
like-
dog.
And she has somehow convinced
Listen, guys, I was on one.
both Steve
That's
and
fucking gross.
she somehow convinced
It was
both
delicious.
Steve
It
and
was- I had,
Jenny
like, lemon
to take
ricotta
a bite of this
pancakes.
delicious whipped cream, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching them, and I think finally Jenny, because
I was like, "Here, try this," and Jenny's like, "Okay,"
Yeah, like,
she's too polite.
All right, I guess that's what I'm saying. I love that broad so much, but like I'm watching it, and I'm like, no,
She
I'm
did.
good, man.
She did.
I'm really.
She
I'm
was like,
really
"Sweetie, you know
super-
that's butter."
That's really good.
Because I was like, "This is very thick whipped cream. Like, this is luxurious as fuck." Like, stop. I was still high because I was at a cannabis conference trade.
Is this
party.
your quote, Merkin Fromper 69? In the clearing stands a boxer and a fighter by his trade, and he carries the reminders of every glove that laid him down or cut him till he cried out in his anger and his shame, I am leaving, but the fighter still remains. Is that, I guess Paul Simon? It's
Simon
Paul
Garfunkel.
Simon wrote that, I assume.
Into it? What's your favorite Hoosier?
I love that song.
Allie
Hoosier, what's your
says
favorite
her
quote?
favorite is keep close to nature's heart and break clear away once in a while and climb a mountain or spend a week in the woods. Wash your spirit clean. John Weir.
Lovely.
Just
do often wash
munching
my
down
spirit in
on
the
a
woods.
stick of butter. Do you remember? Maybe you remember this.
Kip.
'Cause-
Yes! This
I
is
told this
deep
story
in my
before.
fucking childhood, and I was enjoying a football banquet for my brother at Lambert's, which is, if you've ever been, it's just like exorbitant portions and
Lambert's
great
Cafe.
food.
They throw rolls at you.
They yeet 'em,
Home
and
of
it's
the
great.
home of
You
the
just
throw
put your hand up and
rolls.
shit, catch a hot roll. But anyways,
You do. I duck.
or you put your hand right in front of someone's face. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
But I'll do it myself. So I was a little kid. My brother was in high school for a football banquet, and they all
And we
bet
had
him.
Felipe with us too.
Yes, we had a foreign exchange student from Brazil.
We had a foreign
Felipe.
exchange brother that
He
lived
was
with us for a
awesome.
year from Brazil that I took absolutely zero advantage of having someone that spoke fluent Portuguese living with me.
He was cool.
Who was
Yeah, he was
incredibly
great.
wealthy.
He
in
was
his
great. I was
country.
just,
Yeah.
I was
He was
just,
like some
I was
man
just,
of
I was a high school kid. I had a schedule. I had a
And an
girlfriend
ego.
and
And an ego.
I couldn't be bothered with this
Yeah.
rich Brazilian kid that had
That
all of these
could teach you to
connections
be
that could
bilingual
potentially
and-
help me be like a jet setter and world
Cultured
mover,
at all.
just cultured in
Yeah.
general. I couldn't be bothered with it, but some of the funniest stories ever were attached to like the times that he did go and hang out with us, and then also Lambert's Cafe. So we were always really bad, not bad about it. I'm sure everybody does this, but it's like, hey, everybody. We would chip into a pot to like see if somebody would just eat something ignorant, and it was always Kip that'd be like, "Fuck it." I can appreciate Kip's hustle because he's like, "Yeah, man, that's money. I'm in for it." And so there was like a bowl of
It was
butter.
a bucket. It was
like, yeah.
It was. I mean, I was little, so my proportion.
It was a
my-
bowl
it
of
was
butter.
big. It was a lot of butter.
What did he do with the butter?
Ate it like it.
All
was
of it? Like with a
Well, the
spoon?
whole deal was we were all
Like
going to
ice
chip
cream?
in like $5.
It was. I was a little kid, and I was amazed. I was like, "What is happening?" And he just ate this whole thing. I don't think they paid him.
Well, that's the deal.
Oh,
So
God,
what
but his
happened?
And
poor
as soon as
tummy.
he finished, they were all like, "No, fuck you."
Yeah, so what happened was like he took a spoonful and it was like a heaping spoonful of butter and he just like hammers it in his face and like you can see that he's doing everything he can to not just
Puke?
yak. Yeah, he's just trying to get through it and we'd all said that we were going to throw $5 in, but really it was just to see
Where's
if
Kip
would
now?
do it.
I think you should
fires
send him
or
a check for
something.
$5.
No, believe me.
Be like, hey, remember that time we didn't pay you for the butter? Here's $5.
We
Sorry.
ended up. I think we ended up ponying up and paying him after all, because it was the right thing to do. But yeah, it was one of the most disturbing, disgusting things ever. Kip is also the guy. Dave's insanity sauce. Dave's insanity sauce is one of the hottest.
It's like
sauces.
2 million on the
I mean,
Scoville scale, isn't it?
Little bottles. The ones
Yeah.
where it's that little.
It's
one dab
very,
and a
very,
whole pot of
very
chili.
hot. And this was after football practice one day. We go to CC's buffet. Okay, and our buddy Cheston has this this bottle of Dave's Insanity Sauce, and like, dude, on the bottle it says like can also be used to strip wax off of floors. Like this,
Nice.
like yeah, dude, this shit is no joke. And so Kip like got up, and we're at Cece's, mind you, and we're at like the front booth of the store. So it's like we're sitting here, the buffet's here, and then the bathrooms are back here, more seating and TVs, and then there's an arcade over here. So we're like at the very front of the store of the restaurant, and Kip like got his plate and then decided he was going to go to the restroom or something like that. And I was like, guys, we got to do it, And Cheston's like, this is like
You
Dumb and
dosed
Dumber.
him
This
with
is like
hot
Dumb
sauce?
and this is like Dumb and Dumber when they put those peppers on the dudes. Why don't you eat up and we'll tell you. It's like kind of one of those deals. So Cheston's like putting like, I mean, one drop will fuck your day up.
Yeah, it's 2 million on the Scoville
But we
scale.
like all of it. We put a bunch of it on this piece of pizza, right?
Like he didn't have asthma and died.
Well.
Wow.
It was a risk we were willing to take.
Okay. Okay.
And so, anyway, he comes back, and the problem with putting more than a drop on there is that, it's noticeable, and also like it'll burn your eyes as you're getting ready to take a bite. So, he's like, well, he comes back and he's like, you guys put Dave's on my pizza? And we're like, maybe we did. He's like, come on, guys. And so he's like, well, I'm not gonna eat it. And I'm like, whatever. He's like, pussy, doing that whole thing. And he's like, fine.
Boys are fascinating.
He's like, all of you. If all of
Totally.
you put $5 on this table, I'm gonna eat that pizza.
$1 bill, y'all.
And I can appreciate the fuck out of it, like a little temporary pain. You saw it at the chili cook-off a few years ago. Maybe you weren't at that one.
I was there.
But
you were just that drunk.
No, yeah. Anyway, I love the fucking chili cook-off. It's like it's one of my favorite
It was
days.
a very fun day. It was also Dave Brown's 30th birthday, and it
was?
was also a blizzard.
Yep.
And so it was a great day.
So we put this on
It was a lot
there,
of fun.
and I'm telling you, there's a scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like when like the sauce that like they use the acid that they dip the tunes in to kill the tunes for good, because nothing kills the tune, Like there's actually this scene where like when in the very beginning where Roger, like the baby, climbed up on top of the refrigerator and he's kicked off the cookies and he's started the fire, and Roger's got a kettle over his head and a hot sauce bottle falls and it goes into this kettle, and he's forced to drink this hot sauce, and then all of a sudden, like, you can see the color in his face raise. Kip takes a bite of this pizza, and he's already, like, he is a very, very pale shade. Like, he is alabaster. He is ivory colored. And so
his name is Kip.
Yeah, and so Kip, well, yeah, Kip, very Irish last
Let's
name.
be serious.
Yes, Kip, very Irish last name, who grew up in Alaska. Like, there's, like, no sunlight around him. Like, he's So anyway, the dip. Yeah, they called it the dip. That's exactly right. And so I did eat some peppers at your house, John Matthews. So anywho,
Hi, John.
So he eats this, and as soon as he takes a bite, you can see the blood instantly come to his skin and just go.
Steam come out his ears.
And as he's doing it, like
the fear rise in his eyes.
Like, yeah, his eyes are like his eyes are pinned. And he's like, he starts to shake and shit.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, oh, man, this is bad. This is bad. This is really bad. And so he's like trying to get out of the booth. And he gets out of the booth and he starts vomiting. Now, mind you, we're at the front of the restaurant. And he's going to go to the restroom. And so he is now leaving a trail of vomit past the buffet where everybody's trying to get pizza. He's doing his best to hold it in, but it's getting out. And he goes into the bathroom, and he can't even make it to the toilet. He starts yakking in the sink, and so now he's clogged up the sink.
Oh, no.
In the bathroom. It is a full-on vomit emergency, okay? And like all of us are like, we're like running to like see if he's okay, but also like we're just there to witness this thing. I mean, he might die. We don't know at this point.
'Cause boys.
And there's a manager, and the manager's like, oh my, what is going on? And I was like,
your food got us sick.
No, I did. I go, hey, I don't know, pal, but there's something seriously wrong with your pizza. I'm calling the health inspector now. He's like, what are you doing? And we're just like, and
Call
like
911.
Cheston's sliding the Dave's Insanity sauce into his back pocket. Like we're all laughing our ass off, but also like it was my quick goat thinking. I was just like, I don't know, pal, but you really need to take a look at who's making your pizzas. Make sure you're following all health guidelines. I think my buddy got a bad slice. So anyway, I think they kicked us out, but it was pretty.
Because nobody else is puking.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, you should have, while you're walking out, hit someone else.
Oh, I should have hit the whole buffet.
Hit the whole buffet. Everyone's puking.
Yep. See? Shut her down.
What could go wrong?
Shut her down. I don't even know how. I hope you guys gave him that money. We did. It was like $15. It was like $15. But the thing is, that pain's temporary. Talking about the chili cook-off a couple years ago, Heinz from US 97. US 97 is a classic rock station in Springfield.
Yeah.
And they're kind of emceeing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they've got this idea in conjunction with Highland Dairy, which is like the big milk provider in the Ozarks.
They brought all the sour cream to the chili cook-off.
Yeah, they're going to do a hot pepper eating contest, and they're just having a hard time finding people. And this is wee hours. Like this is still... our chili's been cooking for about 2 hours, so I'm gonna say it's about maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock.
It's an early morning for
we
sure.
got it. Is when they're asking, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for entrants. We thought we'd have some more right now. Are you interested in taking part in this hot pepper eating contest?" And I'm like, I'll help you out, And so,
mind you, we start drinking at about 7 a.m.
Yeah,
on this day, maybe 6:47
all
a.m.
day ordeal. So
It's
we
like a
go
Mardi
up there,
Gras.
and like, of course, I'm apprehensive, and I'm like, how hot are we talking here? Like, you got me eating fucking ghost peppers, scorpion peppers. Like, what's the deal? I need to know what I'm getting into. And he says, there's nothing hotter than a habanero. And I'm like,
that's not true.
That's easy.
There's like Pepper X.
That's easy. No, he's saying in the competition.
I see. Okay.
There's
okay,
nothing. There's nothing you're going to eat is going to be hotter than a habanero. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And so like first round, they line up about 6 of us. There's a gal on this side of me that nobody has given any, like, they're not giving her a chance just because she's a gal. They're fucking dumb. These people. They're really dumb.
Women have babies.
And then this guy next to me, and then there's like 3 guys on the other side of him. The way that you bow out of this conversation or this competition is you crack open your Highland Dairy milk and you drink it to quell the heat, right? So we start out. They give us a halved, like a cored jalapeno. So like there's no real seeds in it. No big deal.
Yeah.
Just eat the jalapeno, rock and roll. And so they start this round, eat it. It's fine. Everybody's like, pretty good. There's a couple guys in the end down there. They're like, they're already kind of regretting their decision to even take place in this thing, but whatever. Second round, they bring out one just juicy jalapeno. And
I grew some pretty hot jalapenos this year.
I'm sorry, did I say jalapeno? I'm sorry. One juicy habanero. And it's like this thing, it's not dry. I mean, it is. This thing is plump. And so then the second round, we all have to eat a habanero. And I think at that point, maybe 1 or 2 of the guys on the far end of the table crack their deal. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. We call those the smart ones. And then
I call them quitters.
And we also call them quitters. So in the third round, what they do is they say, okay, you have 2 minutes to eat as many habaneros as you can possibly eat. Well, anybody who eats hot stuff knows that, in a quantity game, it's not really going to like be hotter if you have 2 or 3 habaneros in your mouth at one time than having 1 in there.
Sure.
It's just at that point you're just,
well, in your mouth.
Yeah,
it's a mental game.
In your mouth. So
Yeah.
that's the deal. So the idea is like in a speed game, it's how many of these can you get down? Well, they put to start, they put 6 in front of each of us, thinking, we're all just going to kind of slowly munch these habaneros down. And so as soon as they ring the bell to go, I reach down with my fingers and I grab all 6 and I go, and I start munching down. And the dude that's running the competition was like completely taken off guard. And so was the guy next to me and the gal next to me. So now they're grabbing all of theirs and eating them at a time. This dude's just trying to dish out habaneros as fast as we're eating them. And every time he's putting them down, I'm grabbing them and munching them all down. It's like 2 minutes.
Which is disgusting.
I think I ate, I ate 16 habaneros. And the gal next to me ate 15 habaneros.
Absolutely not worth it. That's
not worth
it.
And the guy next to me ate 14 habaneros.
Also equally.
And so they said, they were asking me afterwards. They were interviewing me and they're giving me like, I don't know. I got like it's funny because you win like
picture in the paper and stuff.
Products, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, fuck, if I bring home
also,
a fucking
can I provide you
T-shirt or a bowl, yeah, exactly. It was, if anything, it got me backstage so I could talk to them about who's selling them promotional products.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, they're like, well, how do you feel? I was like, I feel like a champion. And they're like,
I'm kind of tripping a little bit
like,
too.
What do you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He gave I'm drinking like a tall boy of some Mother's beer or something, and it was like as one of my prizes. And they're like, what made you, think that you could, eat this many? And I was like, well, here's the thing. I can tell you that the difference in eating 16 habaneros and 15 or 14 habaneros is almost, there is no difference.
There is zero difference.
There is no difference. The difference is that I'm a fucking champion and they are not. So they're going to walk through the rest of this day about as miserable as they could possibly be.
Right.
And I am too, except I'm going to walk through a champion.
A miserable champion.
A miserable champion.
Go the extra mile.
Yeah.
It's never crowded.
I would.
Place is just the worst.
I would. Would I do it again? I probably would. But the thing is that I love the chili cook-off.
It's so much fun.
I want to go around
and it's delicious,
I want to
right?
eat I want to try everybody's chili. I want to try at least a spoonful of everybody's chili. That's the deal, right? Like most people
can't really eat everybody's.
Most people have shooters
like
of
little
chili.
cups, yeah.
And I want to try it. And if I could do anything differently, I would have done it towards the end of the day. And done like the second competition just so that I could have actually enjoyed any chili because my gut was fucked for the rest of that day. Like, and it wasn't like everyone's like, everyone always says this, like, oh, I feel really bad for when that comes out. Like, that's not a problem for me.
I don't have that thing.
But when you have straight fire in your gut, it feels like stabbing pain.
No, because you are literally burning the lining of your stomach.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
Let's see here. We were in Texas last month. I saw a 5'2", 100-pound woman eat a 72-ounce steak and the huge baked potato. I wanted to marry her. Impressive as fuck. Women are badass. She said she had time to spare too. It wasn't even hard. She said, "That's awesome."
I could 100% do that.
Then there's that video of the chick who just eats jars of mayonnaise.
Oh,
I just saw that. And it was hard to watch.
Dude, I can't.
Guinness
That's
world record for eating like 6 jars of mayonnaise in a minute.
Are we sure it's mayonnaise and not like vanilla pudding?
I'm not sure.
I
but
hope it's vanilla pudding.
Got me tricked if it is.
Oh.
Okay, are we ready for my second quote?
Yep.
All right. It's from Marianne Williamson. She actually ran for president 4 years ago. She failed. Okay, ready? Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Marianne.
Marianne Williamson.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Let's see another quote that I love.
My favorite quote of all time. You ready?
Yeah.
Fuck around and find out.
Holy shit, I was about to say that next. That's crazy. She's picking up on my brain.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Goddamn way to ruin it for me, Scotty. A whole jar of mayo. Dude, those are the hardest. Hello from Virginia, Kohler family. Hello, Dave Driscoll. Hello, Teddy Graham.
Hey, Teddy.
I think
We
I'm
miss
getting
you.
the fear.
How
That's
is
a good
Virginia? Are you cold? Do you miss us? Do you want to come home right now?
come and get you.
I've already,
Straight up.
I've
Road
already.
trip.
Drive to Virginia.
Teddy Grahams is the first person to really get any cotillion updates or anything like that because I insist on him being at cotillion. I love that guy.
Teddy Grahams, you have no excuse not to be at Cotillion this year. You have plenty of notice.
Yep, he told me. He said he's in. He's in.
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah, he's in. He said he's in.
Do you want to tell the story of how Teddy Grahams got the nickname Teddy Grahams?
Why don't you tell it?
Okay, so we have our very first cotillion, and it's kind of an amalgamation of these different groups of people. Nobody's really sure how things are going to go. One of our friends brought two of his friends, and we were like, and they brought like a lot of booze, and we were like, that's not really our vibe, like, you know, and so we were kind of worried about it. And then Teddy Grahams walks around with like a Sam's bulk size box of Teddy Grahams. Like, how tall do you think Teddy Grahams is?
6'2".
Do you think he's that big?
I'm 6'1", and I look up to him.
He's a big ass dude, right? And so this big giant
he'll be there.
Man of a man is walking around with a box of Teddy Grahams, and I was like, oh, okay, Teddy Grahams, we see you.
It was awesome.
It was pretty great. And so for the whole weekend, we all just ate out of his box of life before COVID, right?
Yeah.
We just all ate out of his box of Teddy Grahams.
We all just ate out of Teddy's
Thanks,
box.
friend. Yeah. It's a Kohler extravaganza. Okay, where are we at? We're at 8:57 a.m.
Yeah, we are. I was trying to think if there's any like quotes I live by or anything like that. I don't know. I think there's
Be more, do more is one.
Yeah, life is not linear.
Oh, that's a John Kohler quote.
That's a my daddy quote.
Yeah.
That's a my daddy quote.
That's a my daddy quote.
My daddy.
My daddy says.
From the other side. Well, I guess he may have said it to me before. I don't know. But
I'm certain he did actually.
He told my sister. He told all of us to be a large person, and whatever that means.
That's really good.
Be a large person. Ride or die, says Pressure Drop Nick.
What are y'all's favorite quotes?
Dude, I'm still fucked up on the jar of mayo thing because I've seen it. And this one gal, she was very attractive. Like, she was like a very pretty woman.
No, we talked about hot girls farting, right? Like weird.
Like speed dating? Because she seems like a speed dater. But like, you're like, tell me about yourself. She's like, well, I've got the Guinness Book of World Records.
I can eat
mayonnaise.
I ate 8 gallons of mayo in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, straight up egg sauce.
And these are gallons. Dude, these are fucking jars
it's gross.
of mayo.
Does she use her hand or is it a utensil? I'm trying to...
It's kind of like a...
I think she might just be
They eventually switched to the scoop, but I think like they're using like a kind of like a silicone spatula
like a
type
rubber
thing.
spatula.
Yeah, like just
every time I think I'm a degen, like truly, you guys just let me know I'm not. Thank you.
One-upped.
Thanks, friends.
Yeah.
I'm a lady after all, y'all.
I don't know. I was thinking we got Kyle Kisner's going to join us in the third hour. I think we're going to talk FICO a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe just what it looks like to be a patient, to be a veteran patient. Maybe we can talk about, maybe he can help us understand what the Veterans Fund even is with Amendment 2.
Yeah.
He was very involved with some of the people that were writing licenses, and he's definitely
furthermore than that, he's a deep study, right? Like
he collected
deep dives.
signatures, no doubt. He is very studious, and man, he kind of has an idea of the political spectrum and kind of how the games are played within it. And so we're just going to talk to him about a little bit of everything on the other side of the break, and I don't know. We'll wrap this thing up. We'll figure it all out. We'll have a good time in the third hour, and then we'll go about our Tuesday.
I have to watch that video that you said was last night with the solventless FICO. Is that last night?
Yeah.
Posted. That really baffles me. I don't quite understand that.
Yeah. So Kush Coach, I'm gonna try and record something with Kush Coach because he said he had a heck of a long conversation with, like I said, with Amber earlier. He's got an idea for how to make this. Make this medicine accessible to patients at home, which right now is kind of a every snowflake in an avalanche pleads not guilty, is what Teddy Graham said. That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Anywho, we're gonna have some conversations. I forgot. I lost where I was at with all of that, so we're just gonna go to break here and come back and have a good old time. Wrap this thing up and. Get on about our Tuesdays, guys. This is Hoosier Sophisticate. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Insurance 314-961-4800. Handsome, amazing, astonishing, astounding, fabulous, incredible, fantastical, phenomenal, prodigious, stupendous, unbelievable, wondrous, divine, fantastical. No, seriously, he's fantastical. You got a house, go on and get it insured. You got a car, you gotta get it insured. You got a life, go on and get it insured. CarltonInsurance.net. Fantastical, stupendous, fantastic.
Hey, boys and girls, I'm talking about native hemp extract. That CBD.
That CBD.
Get inside of me.
Inside of me.
That CBD.
That CBD.
Sweet delicious CBD. That CBD.
That CBD.
Got the CBD. CBD native hemp. That CBD.
That CBD.
You can get it from me.
I can.
That CBD.
That CBD.
Inside of me.
Inside of me.
That CBD.
That CBD.
Inside of me.
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 No. Inside of me.
Inside of me.
Inside of me.
Native hemp extract. 1,800 milligrams of total cannabinoid goodness from Pike County, Illinois. Get yours at HoosierSophisticate.com.
I'm an outlaw, check it and see. Wanted poster looking like me. Checking the swamp man for a pretty girl. Being an outlaw in an outlaw world.
Hey, I'm an outlaw, check it and see. Wanted poster looking like me. Walking my hound dog, surfing that swamp. Catching crow that do the sweetly stomp. Everybody do the sweetly stomp.
It's a stomp. It's a wiggle, turn around, a little tickle. It's a stomp, move your feet, head on down to Sweet Leaf. Head on down to Sweet Leaf. Head on down to Sweet Leaf.
Dude, man, get on down to Sweet Leaf Emporium and do that Sweet Leaf stomp, man.
James Carlton. James Carlton. James Carlton. You gotta get your insurance. Gotta get that State Farm insurance.
You think you found the best insurance agent in the game? Well, I got news for you. I did, and it's James Carlton. State Farm. CarltonInsurance.net.
961-4800. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Welcome back, Hoosier Sophisticate Show, Hour 3. We were talking about quotes, and we will be joined by Kyle Kisner here shortly. We were talking about quotes, and somebody actually liked a quote that I posted on the other page I forgot about by arguably my favorite president, Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan "Press On" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. It ain't enough to know. It ain't enough to have the potential to know. You got to do.
Very good, sir.
So, Calvin Coolidge. Well, come on in here, bud.
Hey, you know what? He can have my spot.
Are you going to swap out?
See you later, Hoosiers.
All right.
I got some yoga and meditation.
Me and Kyle are swapping with my wife. It's kind of weird.
It's only weird if you make it weird.
Good morning, sir. Everybody, welcome one Kyle Kisner to the show. All right. So our mics don't get a feedback. Oh, what's new with you, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Not a whole lot. I finally managed to get a little bit of sleep last night. That's like the latest thing. But really the only thing new that's been going on is I've just been writing, just trying to do a lot of writing.
I've noticed that.
Thank you. It's good to be noticed.
It is good to be noticed, my man. I hear you.
I've been, so I just submitted my first, I guess, major essay, you want us to call it, for a literary contest. It's actually for a literary journal in Australia.
Okay.
But it's for a company called the Australian Book Review, and they're just taking English language submissions. So
that's cool.
Hopefully,
so
I make the short list.
Are there any guidelines for the competition, or are there a bunch of different categories?
Just English language speaking essay.
Okay.
And it can be about any topic, really. It has to be between, I think it was like 4,000. That'd be about 4,000 words. But any topic, and a political topic, societal, things like that.
Okay. So what did you decide? You want to share a little bit? What did you decide to write about?
So this essay was actually from where I kind of outgrowth the two articles I ended up writing for Evolution. But the essay itself was more functioned on just kind of looking at the timeline of drug policies in America over like the last 100+ years. There's a really good book called Dark Paradise, and I always forget the author's name, but he wrote it first in 1980 and then did a reprint in, I think, 99 or 2000. But he talks about just, when and where non-medical addiction to opioids, kind of first start entering into people's conscience as something that they're concerned about. And he talks about why, and not hugely surprising, though, a theme that, he maintains throughout the whole piece is that those policies tend to be based on who is using the drugs.
100%. Dark Paradise, A History of Opiate Addiction in America by David T. Courtwright is probably the book that you are referencing there. So that's kind of that is kind of the gist, right? Like, and I'm a little, it's something that kind of fascinates me because when people talk about drug cartels, a lot of times what instantly flashes in someone's head are brown people south of the border trafficking cocaine into America. The Pablo Escobar ideal of what a cartel is, but the opium cartel has gone back a couple of hundred years. Matter of fact, a lot of our higher learning institutions like Harvard and Yale have halls named after some of the largest opium dealers. I wouldn't call them smugglers because at the time they weren't smuggling anything. It was it was an open legal trade that existed with China. But the opium cartel is
not 100% legal. But,
totally.
They had basically, if you look at the first and the second opium war, and that's actually kind of where when I do my research, I look at that and I kind of go forward. First and Second Opium Wars were fought over that reason. The emperors in China were seeing that a lot of people were becoming addicted to smoking opium. They felt that the youth were spending too much time in opium dens, and so they started to crack down on that. Unfortunately, as we've seen throughout history, it didn't make the problem better. It actually made a whole lot of other complications, made things worse, because people in Britain weren't going to let go of the profits they were making from taking the opium grown in India and then taking it to ports in China and Nanking, and I forget the other. There's two ports that the guy got authorized after that.
So you're taking so was it primarily focused on opiates and their place in the drug war, or just kind of how it reaches out to everything? Is it something that people can read, or do they have to wait until the contest is?
Yeah, you can read it. I don't have a copy. I was going to bring a copy with me, but I forgot, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But I can email that to you.
Okay, I would love to. I would love to read that for sure.
But yeah, essentially, it kind of goes like this. The first major thing that people were concerned about in the medical community and then later socially was opioid addiction. But the most common opioid addict prior to the 1870s was middle-aged, usually well-off, usually female, and they're usually addicted to laudanum.
They cover that in Tombstone.
Right. Of course.
Maddie's a big a laudanum head, right?
Right. So at this time, it's really viewed as it's a medical issue. It would be terrible to lock these people up. But where that starts to change is in the 1870s, you start to see people who are like second or third generation from immigrants, and mostly white Europeans that are wandering into opium dens in California and San Francisco and stuff like that, and hanging out with people of other races. And so that's really miscegenation was the first.
Sure.
That was the rallying cry, so to speak. And then you got the Harrison Narcotic Act in 1914, which is really where you first start to see on a national level addiction ends up being criminalized. Now, initially, the Harrison Narcotic Act, there is wiggle room for maintenance programs, and you see doctors around the country maintaining people who are already addicted because it's seen as a compassionate thing to do. But then in a case called Webb v. United States and a couple other subsequent cases, the Supreme Court rules that the interpretation of the Harrison Narcotic Act was that there's no maintenance allowed. So that's, from that point on, everything just kind of snowballs worse.
Drug use becomes criminalized, not just addiction.
Exactly. And by 1940s, it was enough to have, if you had track marks or it was known that you were using drugs, that was enough to have you forcibly committed to a narcotics farm, which is just a fancy prison.
Yeah,
not even fancy, maybe.
For sure. Well, that brings up an interesting point, because a lot of times when we talk about drug reform, and what that looks like, reaching or trying to get an olive branch extended by the government or the people potentially running these programs, typically drug reform always has like a provision in there about, basically what turns out to be like for-profit rehabs replacing the prison system, which isn't necessarily. It's kind of like a flash. It's like a jump sideways, right? Because a lot of the problem with a lot of the problems that maybe addicts face is the fact that they can't afford to be criminalized for their use anyway, and it contributes to a spiral of illegal, maybe illicit activities to try and dig out of a hole that was created that wasn't necessarily there until the government said, "Hey, you can't do that anymore." So that's interesting.
Well, not only that, but it's. Of course, once Anslinger becomes the drug czar of America, and he remains so for many, many years, he was really, all the drug war rhetoric you see now,
It's just repeated.
Yeah, it's exactly. The initial thought was that a person who uses drugs is obviously a psychopath, and psychopaths do crimes, and they're just terrible. You need to just take them out of society.
Mm-hmm.
And cannabis ends up being rolled in with that, but that kind of is seen as being more benign again until the affluent hippies who are using it in the 60s start to protest the war and suddenly now.
Right, when the jazz players were using it in the 40s and the 30s and 40s, it was still kind of kept under wraps and heavily. I don't know if it was heavily criminalized, but it wasn't.
It was definitely something that they would use to target,
right, minorities.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
But it just, what I'm saying is like the problem worsens, and so oftentimes when we talk about marijuana, we maybe even put a little bit too much emphasis on this was just done to attack marijuana. It was like guilt by association. Nixon, of course, had a big issue with it. But if you look at most of the 60s, that's when you actually see pilot programs for methadone. JFK, the first president to give the okay on that for methadone research. You see, and I can't remember the doctor's name, but it was a doctor, and it's in the book Dark Paradise, that he starts running like limited federal methadone programs, and the research, that he coming back with, his conclusion was essentially this: people who are on methadone, they hold jobs, they maintain their sobriety, aside from the methadone maintenance, and they live productive lives.
Dr. Max Jacobson, the original Dr. Feelgood, maybe.
Well, I was about to say that earlier, like with the Suboxone and Subutex and methadone. Like, how does that not fall under the maintaining that they set?
Well, I mean, it is now because, this is the next thing I was
so we're building to it. Yep.
But we look at Nixon, and certainly he did a lot of bad things for the drug war. He set the stage really for the federal government to start cracking down on the way they would, come the 80s. But even the CSA and the Drug Abuse Prevention Act of 1970, Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act, sorry, that actually established, yes, criminal penalties and things like that, but 75% of that budget was based around treatment. It was the idea of getting people help. But that shifts again once it's in the early 70s. There's this big cry for it because you've seen a lot of Vietnam veterans addicted to heroin, so everyone wants to have compassion, and of course, because the availability and purity of heroin, more white people are getting addicted to it, and so now we will need treatment.
There's a more pressing need to address it.
Sure. So it's like it keeps going kind of like this. And the reason why that stuff had success was because, and Anslinger was maybe the first guy to really recognize this, but the political expedience of we're going to go after drugs and be hard on drugs. I mean, from 1980 up till 2000, that was like the number one thing every politician, left or right, was
in agreement on.
Yeah, you had to be tough on drugs if you wanted to get elected. So
no doubt, no doubt. Oh, I feel like we're making some. We're making a little headway, although it seems like maybe 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, or 1.5 step back. It seems like from time to time. I think someone was talking about it a little bit in the chat line, and I'll check it. Is there cultivation? Are there rules against me cultivating poppies?
No.
I mean, I might be. I mean, I don't know.
I've looked into this, so it's you can grow, but you can't grow like a huge amount, and there cannot be any evidence that you have
turned that extracted.
Exactly.
Is that what you do? You milk poppies?
You score. What you do is you score the to the outside. I was really into reading about this when I was super hooked on opioids. But what they would do is they take a little razor blade, and you got this long row of poppies, and you're just making little slits down it. And as a natural defense mechanism, the poppy will secrete this waxy substance, which is the opium, and in it has the alkaloids. The main alkaloids, codeine and morphine. Morphine is more prevalent, but then others. But that's more or less, that's when you see like animals would eat it, and then they fall over, so they won't eat anymore. Like that's how the plant survives. And as humans, we found a way to harness that. So they come along once that wax dries. Like you said, they got this long staff, this wooden spoon thing. They scrape it up, they put it in, they do a few more scores.
Interesting.
And once they get like pounds of this waxy substance, then they process that.
They then process it down. I actually going back into the text line, it looks like we were talking about. Coach said, "Opium's an odd law. I can grow Dutch flag poppies all over my backyard, but as soon as I harvest the milk from them, it's illegal. I have them to make seeds that will be medicine if society falls apart." Fair enough. Does it raise flags? I'm sure it does. Never mind. When I asked the police, they were confused about what I was asking. All they could say was, "Don't make heroin." if your poppies show scarring, they use that as evidence of
Yeah.
opium manufacturing. Wow.
Because people will grow poppies, I think, like for like competitive, like, oh, look at my
they're
garden.
beautiful flowers.
They are.
Yeah. I mean, you can even just wash the seeds and get morphine and stuff. Like people do that.
Yeah, there's
Teas out of the
apparently.
seeds and all that stuff.
It's one of these.
I used to
things
buy my
that's-
mom poppies every year for her birthday or for Mother's Day, just because I remember we would watch. My favorite part of Wizard of Oz was when they went through the poppy field. It was my favorite flower, poppies and tulips, and so yeah, it's kind of funny. Like poppies will make them fall asleep, and like looking back on all of that stuff that's kind of put into our pop culture, it's always pretty interesting. Where was I gonna? I had something pulled up here because I just brought it up a little bit. Opulence and opium. There's a study. This was by the Harvard Crimson, the legacy of Harvard's drug syndicate. From Harvard, the opium trade spread throughout New England. According to Bradley, Yale University's infamous Skull and Bone Society was funded by the Russells, the most successful family of opium dealers in America. Columbia's Lowe Memorial Library was also named after a key member of the family. Even Princeton's first large benefactor, John Green, funded his contribution through the opium trade. I was just reading this not too long ago. We're not far removed from all of those Ivy League, upper echelon institutes of higher learning having been basically awash with and I mean, we see it now, right? Like the psychedelic research is being done at some of the most prestigious universities. They're the ones that are more likely to get funding for these kind of projects. They're not depending on federal funding, so that's why Johns Hopkins gets whatever $75 million to build a whole unit in order to study this. But it used to be high society to deal in heroin and in opium. I actually remember, and it seems like, I don't know, maybe this could be anecdotally, and you're probably a little young to remember, but like when I was in high school, Kyle, I think you and I are roughly the same age. Opium was actually on the black market seemingly a lot more prevalent. Like it could be found with just a couple of phone calls, it seems like actual opium. And there also was like kind of a run on like this Red Rock opium, whatever. But it was way more available. And then it seems like something happened like in the 2000s where...
that was an accident.
Did you
just hit it with my leg?
There seems like there was this something that happened where pills and opiates in general, pharmaceuticals became way more... and maybe that's just also me just getting older and being around more adults that are medicated.
I was in high school right at the point where I've seen opium twice. Real opium, like tar.
I never have. Actually.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
And I went through my opiate phase, and whenever I was in high school, heroin was very prevalent.
That's crazy.
When did you graduate?
14.
So I graduated in 05.
Okay, yeah. So I'm a few years older than you. And
pill popping was just starting to become a thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like it seemed like in the early to mid 2000s,
I think
pills
a lot of that
really got popular.
In '96 is when Purdue starts its big marketing campaigns for the fifth vital sign program. Basically use pain as a vital sign, and to really ramp up marketing, they did these infomercials for OxyContin talking about how great it was. And so 4 years in, that's where you're starting to see a lot of parents who maybe they took a couple and weren't thinking about it and just left it in the medicine cabinet, because that's where kids, a lot of kids got their first taste of that, was they just swiped it out of the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, no doubt.
And when you have, this is another thing that I saw too when I was researching for this essay, is anytime you have a large cohort of people entering that phase where they're at the highest risk for experimentation, 17 to 23, and you have a large availability of a certain drug, and especially if that drug is in a form that's easy to consume, such as smoking it or just eating it, that's going to take off.
No doubt.
So,
well, that's what was fascinating, looking at, like, even, watching my brother and his friend, like I said, he just said he was 14, so he's about 12 years behind me as far as high school goes, and seeing what the flavor of the week is for the average 15, 16, 17-year-old kid when it came to benzodiazepines and just getting barred out.
We ate bars.
I mean, dude,
there's
fucking
over
worried
a
me.
year that
I've
I
seen
don't remember.
junkies of all sorts, man. But people that are just basically going through life not remembering yesterday because of the amount of benzodiazepines, and then not to mention like rappers were talking about drinking
codeine,
scissor,
Spitting on that scissor, man.
like man, like and like that was kind of coming about sipping on the scissor, you know, like we were all you know.
I drank lean, man, and it was
I
a
get
good
it, man.
time.
Like lean's like a whole. But like I remember thinking, because there were kids when I was in high school that were tripping Coricidin. You know, they were eating a bunch of Coricidin and robo tripping or whatever, and like that shit terrified me. I never did that, not because like I wasn't passing any judgment. I was just like genuinely worried about people that were doing that because, and especially with benzos, like you know, people that would drink with benzos, like that's a pretty surefire way to fucking kill yourself.
Yeah, it's very risky.
And
it's
like you were saying,
risky.
like whenever we were in our experimental phase, it's also whenever Bitcoin was very cheap and Silk Road was real.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So like we had
I missed the
all
boat
of
on that.
everything that we wanted. Like, and we're just these kids, 18-year-old kids that's like, oh, we can order this, that. Like, not that
Right.
we did that, but I'm just saying that is like, it's,
And I think another thing I think is important to keep in frame when you're talking about the whole drug war, and it's one of the reasons why I like Carl Hart so much. If I want to get his new book, but
I guess he was just on Rogan. I need to listen to it. I heard it was a pretty good podcast. I haven't listened to it yet.
and anything Carl Hart has to do with it's going to be good.
Yeah.
But basically, my conclusion is like this. I think we're looking at it all wrong. We're looking at it as it's so unnatural and it's just so wrong for people to use any substances, and we need to just come to the realization that drug use is as American as apple pie.
Yeah, it's as human as human gets.
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, you look at animals throughout the animal kingdom, and we're not the only ones that like to get messed up from time to time.
Nope. It's my favorite thing to watch jaguars chew on ayahuasca root or sassafras and just lay there with saucer plates for pupils and they're just checking. That shit is my jam, man. I mean, I've been in that space, you know, where I've been, you know, heavy into the medicine and just a wonder of something as simple as the trees that hang over my head or the you know the bird song or anything like that. Yeah, it's not exclusive to us. It's not, and that's also just our obsession with separating us from nature, like thinking that we are so much different.
We have
than
morals
it, you know?
and animals.
Yeah,
don't.
right. Exactly. It just seems very strange to tell anybody what they can. It's like, to me, it's the same. Now I understand, you know, punishing any crimes committed under the act or under the influence of drugs and trebling charges or you know perhaps you know making punishments a little bit worse, just like we do with alcohol, just like we do with that. Like if you're speeding, not bad, or if you're reckless driving and you hit somebody, like not a good thing. But if you're doing it when you're drunk and probably because you're drunk, well then it's a whole different set of penalties for that. I don't think that can directly correlate to cannabis because of the way we measure for cannabis in the system. Like I could have smoked weed 2 weeks ago and drove my car completely sober, and and by their metric they could say, well, he was under the influence of marijuana, which is complete fucking nonsense. But also, like, this is all like the idea of criminalizing what we put into our bodies is crazy to me. It's like making, to me, and I'm not equating drug use to suicide, but it's like making suicide illegal. There are a bunch of states that it's illegal to commit suicide, right? Like it's like, what? What kind of waste of time is that? You know what I mean? Like who are you going to go after to press those charges after somebody has done that to themselves? It's kind of the same idea. It's why I made this. It's why I took this Terrence McKenna quote. One of my favorite quotes. Dangerous gambler. But it's Terrence McKenna said, if the words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness don't include the right to experiment with your own consciousness, then the Declaration of Independence isn't worth the hemp it was written on. And seems pretty fair to me. I mean, in all three of those words, in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, there is a case to be made for drug use in each one of those words. Right. Liberty, I'm free to do with my body as I see fit, just by being a natural-born citizen of this earth. You know, the pursuit of happiness, the use of different chemicals and medicines can potentially give me a better quality of life, maybe numb depressions, numb things that make me sad or hurt, and also just in life. For some people, some drug use, it actually makes life worth living. And that might be hard for people who just have it all figured out to wrap their head around, but it's a real thing.
A lot of times people that can't wrap their head around it, they're not being honest about the fact that they've got their own cocktail or version of a cocktail that they have to have a little bit of every day or at least every other day. They got to go out and they got to shop. They got to have, I got to satisfy
Everyone's
my
gotta
sweet
buy-
tooth.
yeah.
Stuff like that.
Sure.
I grew up in a white upper middle. Excuse me. I grew up in a white upper middle class area, and pills were way better than street drugs. Oxy 80s were easier to get in high school than a bag of weed. Messed up. Yeah, man. Yeah, and there's also this weird thing where we do vilify other substances in order to make cases for our preferred substances that I would like to see, especially the cannabis community who has seen the frustrations of people consistently use language to keep us down or find ways to play stupid little games. Like the cannabis industry has seen how certain words have or advocates of cannabis have seen how certain words and certain narratives have framed the entire the plant in a certain light and everything else. I would ask them to use that same deductive reasoning for how we think about opiates or methamphetamines or benzodiazepines, anything in general. Like there's such thing as intelligent use of different things. And honestly, we're not going to fix it by making people criminals. We very, very well may. I don't know that we ever. If fixing it looks like completely eradicating it, then we're never going to fix it.
Completely eliminating something is a scientific impossibility. You can only reduce.
That's exactly right. You can reduce as much as you want, and the only way that you're going to do that is with honest education about it and the smart use.
Which
even
at that, it doesn't even have to be smart as long as you don't commit anything that's infringing on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You can go and get spun out for 2 weeks in your own house. I really don't care.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone's going to be upset about it that cares about you, but that's not what I'm talking about.
And it's also, as hard as this is to hear for people, it's also not their problem.
That's
it's
exactly
not
right.
their
It's
choice.
their demons to deal with,
and
so
that's
give them space
something.
to deal with it.
That's something that we talk about all the time. When you see an addict, sometimes you just love an addict right where they're at, and you want to do everything you can to help them because you love them and you see something else in them. But also, they may just be making that choice while still knowing all of the potential pitfalls or.
It's like whenever people get forced into rehab and they repeat like multiple times, it's because they're not ready to quit. And as soon as they are, it's that simple. They're done with it.
Yep. Honest education is the beginning to all of it. So.
Well, harm reduction. I'm a big proponent for all forms of harm reduction. Yeah, and with that comes education.
Mm-hmm.
And I even am a proponent for, and probably the most controversial thing that I will tell people I'm a proponent of is supervised injection sites.
I'm with it.
Because of the fact that you look at places that have seen them, and you cannot deny the fact that they have reduced. I think it was in Nova Scotia. After a few years, it's like overdose deaths were down by 92%.
Mm-hmm.
HIV transmission was way down, and you're getting more and more addicts are actually. You're in a situation where the second they sober up in your little area there that you set up for them and you make sure they're not dying, they wake up and they have that moment of lucidity where I need to get help. You can immediately get them somewhere where they need help.
I'm actually, that was something, it didn't take me very long to come around to it. It's a big, scary idea. It's a big, audacious idea, right? Because we have this idea of intravenous drugs being so much worse than others,
Right.
And luckily I've been given perspective, through my own maybe poor choices and then kind of some of the circles I ran in for a while, but also like I've had people willing to have open and honest conversations. My dad talked about, his college roommate chipping heroin every day of his life for 40 years, who also happened to be a doctor. He knew what his supply was. He knew what a healthy dose was. He knew never to go over it. He knew how to use it responsibly. And like him saying that kind of just triggered something in me that, this is possible. The supervised, I think also to build on that, typically in places where supervised injection sites are implemented, coupled with decriminalization and taking a health approach to drug abuse versus a criminal approach, is it doesn't necessarily reduce usage rates, but it does kind of plateau them. You don't see a significant spike like you would think you would. Like just because something becomes legal doesn't mean everybody's going to run to go and do it. And also something being legal is also, like that is not sufficient for me. I'm not going to be like, oh, that's legal, so I'm just going to go do it. I either have an interest in doing something or I don't, and I'm not looking for someone's permission to do it anyway. So I would like for the best avenue possible going forward. Where it gets weird is, and that's like, we have some major cities now where homelessness runs rampant, and a lot of times we talk about homelessness is not just a money problem. It's not just a resources problem. It's a big part of that is a mental health problem. And in order for us to address mental health issues at scale, we need to be able to have empathy, like in big audacious empathy. Like, we got to have empathy for even things we don't really understand so that we can learn about them and then help people actually move through them. And the first part of that is not vilifying people for chemicals they introduce into their body. A good follow for you, if you're into Carl Hart, we've had him on the show before, Dr. Matthew Johnson from Johns Hopkins. He is a psychedelic researcher, but his Twitter handle is @drugresearcher, and he makes a case that, with all of the fervor behind legalizing psychedelics and all of the people willing to do that, he talks about the importance of legalizing things that maybe aren't held in the higher favor. So things like heroin, things like methamphetamine, things like that. Not necessarily legalizing, but finding a good way to talk about these things. Let's see if I can find it here. I'll pull this up because I think you guys will appreciate this. Most detailed opinion yet on drug legalization. There are currently illegal uses of caffeine and legal uses of LSD and cocaine. We need well-regulated markets for drugs, including hard drugs, with regulation informed by harm reduction fitting each drug. Drug use should not be a crime. Our current approach creates massive criminal enterprise, allows for impure drugs, distances drug consumers from medical care, and keeps science-based public policy from manipulating the variables that can decrease harm. Ironically, we have virtually no control of controlled substances in a black market. We actually have substantial control over regulated drugs in a legal market. Far more to say in the future. If you guys want to check out @drug_researcher, it's Matthew Johnson. He's been on the show to talk about psychedelics before. He's doing some really big studies with psilocybin for smoke cessation, for depression reduction at Johns Hopkins University. He's doing some really cool stuff, and he's not just talking about psychedelics, because once I think you get into psychedelics and the perspective that psychedelics offer, tapping into the empathetic nature of us all being connected at least a little bit, then you kind of start to make space for these other things that maybe you've had a hard time understanding leading up to this point.
What is smoke cessation?
Quitting smoking.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, it's working at a pretty amazing clip. Psilocybin is now. Matter of fact, I've had a psilocybin journey where I tried to go out and smoke a cigarette.
And he gacked everywhere.
Immediately, and I go, well, that's the last cigarette I ever smoked. And it was
He
that.
said it like this. He said, oh, that's the last cigarette I ever smoked.
Yeah, it was really affecting me in that moment. But it is working really well for people for all different kinds of reasons. Anywho, so. Right. I don't know where we were going, but yeah, man.
Did you want to talk to me about this RSO?
I do. I absolutely do. Let me see here. We got a little over 20 minutes, right. So we can. I can't help it, but Scott reminds me of James Franco. Yeah, that's not uncommon. I think Scott gets that fairly often. Anywho, yeah. Well, I think we should talk about FICO a little bit. Sure. We're trying to at least, you know what? The way I look at it is at least if we're talking about it on a daily basis, at least a little bit, it's putting it at the front of everybody's minds. So, what do you got to say about FICO there,
Well, I say first and foremost, as I'm sure your audience knows, FICO, full extract cannabis oil. It's kind of the more generic term for RSO, which is really more Rick Simpson oil, which is it's more of a slang term for the extracted oil. Now, I first started meeting people who had been surviving cancer, and I asked them specifically, what did you do to beat this? And they kept saying, using this oil. And then I finally got put on to the Rick Simpson story, Run from the Cure, which I think you can still get out there and find the video. It's on the internet somewhere, but it's like an hour and a half long, and it's Rick Simpson talking about his entire journey with making oil, and he kind of explains how to make it too. Which
I believe he healed his skin cancer with it. We were covering a little bit yesterday. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But aside from that, there's also 2 terminal survivors, people who are late stage cancer and leukemia survivors that I've become quite good friends with over the last several years, and asking more the specifics of like, how did you do it? Did you just eat a whole bunch? Did you smoke it? What? Because at first I didn't know. I guess you can't smoke it, but most people don't.
Rough.
Yeah.
Well, dabbing
RSO. Woo!
I don't
know if
I've never tried it. I've never tried it. I've heard people say it. I just kind of
yikes. I don't think I would want to put any kind of combustible on top of it. Yeah. No. Anyway, go ahead.
Me neither. Yep. But it's just something I had heard someone say.
Yeah.
I think the best approaches are to eat it, suppositories, and topical applications, and that's basically a combination of those things is what these guys used. The reason why you would use a suppository or topical application is because you're trying to get more THCA. We're learning more about the anti-cancer properties of THCA, but basically it boils down like this. A lot of people who have had cancer, by the way, I want to say, and have used RSO have still died.
Absolutely.
We cannot, I don't want to ever say that you will survive if you do this, but if you really go full on, lean into it, I think it gives the best chance. THCA it's not intoxicating. So even though it may be not as effective as THC with CBD to produce apoptosis, you can just take massive amounts of it. One of the problems that my one friend was having was when he first started dosing with it, he was eating like a gram a day out of RSO starting out, which is a lot for most people. And for like the first couple months, he was pretty much incapacitated.
No doubt.
Most of the time, yeah. And so that's when he started experimenting with the suppositories and things like that. And another buddy of mine who I met, stage 4 leukemia, they gave him days to weeks. And he learned the Rick Simpson story. He showed his wife, taught his wife how to make it. And while he was sick in bed recovering, she was, making oil for him, even though it was hard for him because they grew up in a really conservative town, were big members of the church and everything, and it was a strain on their marriage because they're thinking any minute now the door is going to come busting
kick it in.
Yeah. So the problem really is, I kind of broke it down like this: you got issues right now in the state, and as you see in a lot of other states with sustainability, not enough supply yet, not enough people know. Supply in terms of that, you're going to see wholesale prices of flour will start to come down as demand for concentrates starts to go up. It's just the way it's happened in just about every other market. Concentrates become the preferred thing, and flour almost ends up becoming like a niche thing.
Which is crazy to me
Sure.
as a guy who is like just a fan of flour. Like I get the use of concentrates. I get why people dig them, but I'm just a flour guy.
In the meantime, though, the kind of better solution is we don't have very many caregivers in the state of Missouri. Like I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's less than 2,000, I think, or right at 2,000.
Yes, probably.
2,200, I want to say is the number.
Which technically that's only allowing for 6,000 patients to be taken care of by caregivers, right?
Right. Now, reason why a lot of people want to become caregivers is because most people you see do caregiving right now, it's, I'm just going to be for my wife so I can go to the dispensary and pick up her medicine. There's not enough people right now, I don't think, that are comfortable with growing it themselves to where they would be willing to take on it. Right now, you could take on 3 people to caregive for. But you just don't have a lot. There's a gap there in the market where you're trying, on the home grow side, trying to get enough people to do it. So you got to give them the knowledge of where they can find a good caregiver, and you got to have more caregivers that know about how to make RSO.
Yep.
And then basically just getting people aware of this. They need to be aware of what RSO is, how they should take it, how they can make it, and where, and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. Sustainability solutions, I see the biggest solution there is You've got to start forming kind of caregiver grow ops collectives.
Yep,
right.
no doubt.
I just kind of was drawing little sketches, but if you took a standard apartment building and you can put as many enclosed locked areas as you can have. So if you got 4 people renting one unit that's got 4 enclosed locked areas, you can have 18 plants in each one of those areas.
Correct.
Out of those areas, that person can caregive for at least 3 people.
No doubt.
You could set it up to where you're harvesting. I mean, if you have a tent for your flower, tent for veg, and then an area for your clones, you could dial it in to where every 8 to 12 weeks you're chopping something.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly, because there'd be some variance, but you can get pretty darn close. And if you had everyone on the bottom 4 is harvesting every 4 weeks, everyone on the top 4 is harvesting, they're alternating like that. Every 4 weeks, you're, harvesting what? How many plants? 20, 30, 40, 50, 90 plants maybe?
No doubt.
And the trim from that I see is where people can pull that together and just make large amounts of oil. Now, there's some things compliance-wise to keep into consideration with all of that. Detail-wise, if you're going to have, say, we're harvesting today, this caregiver is going to have some patients come over for a little trim party. That'd probably have to be in a private area or something type of thing. That's something that I'm kind of working out the exact.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. It's something we haven't really talked about on here, but I've had a bunch of conversations, especially in the last couple weeks, since we talked about, since we've been talking about FICO a little bit more. But that's been kind of one of my questions all along. And as the language reads, there are no limitations on how many separate enclosed lock spaces can be at a certain address. So, whatever each particular caregiver would need as far as, and I actually think that if someone did it right, you can have multiple levels of a building where you don't need as much space for your clone room or for your, for your seedlings or anything like that as you might for veg, and then obviously for flower you need the most room.
Sure.
So you can kind of make it to where you can move throughout this space pretty evenly. I think as long as the caregiver is the only person handling the caregiver and or the patients that particular grow is taken care of, can be the only ones that are handling those particular plants. Kind of the same idea where I think there's a gray area where if you want to go and use someone's rosin press, say at a store or something, like say a grocery store wanted to use or have a deal where you can come and press your own hash or whatever. I think that's probably okay as long as you are the only person coming, using. You're renting time with the rosin press. I think that's the loophole.
It's almost like you'd be setting up how you set up the private consumption area.
100%.
Because you're not doing anything that's processing that's specifically inhibited by Article 14. I think it's something that you're allowed to do.
You just have to figure out a way to do it within. There's language that provides for it. But one grower can do that on one Missouri license. Like here in Colorado, I have 24 plants and harvest every 4 weeks, 6 to 8 plants at a time. That yields 2 to 3 pounds. Wow. Yes, let these cultivators that didn't get licensed rent individual space to caregivers. I think that we're going to have to answer this question, and we can't imagine, or we can't. I'll tell you. Let's just say it this way: we can't wait on the industry as it sets now to address this problem, because the industry is right now, I think, insisting on $4,500 a pound wholesale. Allegedly, there might be some cheaper.
Even in states where the market is developed, you can't go into a dispensary in Colorado, for instance, and buy RSO most of the time.
Yeah.
People working there might not even know what the hell you're talking about still.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, this knowledge gap.
But Colorado's recreational. I mean, they should still have
more.
Some medical.
From what I understand, is like some of these states have penny RSO programs and things like that. Now, it's also important, and this is something I talked about yesterday, and I'm learning. I just joined this FICO group that's really pretty impressive. Like a lot of people that are treating themselves with FICO oil, a lot of people that have treated loved ones with, a lot of people that are very knowledgeable and had to go basically seek out the information themselves because there's no trusted medical professional for them to lean into, or very few for them to lean into for this information. And And FECO is not FECO. Like, it's not all the same.
It's not one size fits all.
Yeah,
no.
it's not one size fits all. And I learned the other day that hormonal cancers respond very poorly to high THC.
Yeah, you need low THC, high CBD.
Yeah, high CBD. You need a 3-to-1 CBD to THC. So if you have a testicular cancer or a rectal cancer or an ovarian cancer or a breast cancer or any of the, anything kind of involving your reproductive system, what would be considered a hormonal cancer, you would not want to attack that with high THC medicine typically. So
I think aside from just building a better network of caregivers and cultivators, which you can also, by the way, my inspiration for that's the community garden program they have at St. Patrick's Center. Over, I think it's the DoubleTree, right when you're going down Grand and you turn to go down to Scotts Trade Center. That hotel right there, right next to it is the lot. That's where St. Patrick's Center does. They teach horticulture and they actually have a community garden right there. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
A lot of cities around the country have stuff like that, and everyone that contributes to the garden at the end, they get to take some of the food home with them and stuff. That's cool. Aside from that, though, I think a temporary solution or short-term solution could be to compel cultivators in the state to donate 15 or 20 or 25% of your trim type of thing. And again, there's logistical issues and it'd be some
getting from point A to point B.
Compliance issues. You'd have to be very you'd have to dot all the I's and cross the T's on, but it's something I think that could be done.
Just have to cross the T's and dot the lowercase j's.
And then there's also another possibility I thought of is, getting some kind of, at some point, getting some kind of collective that's, even if it's not the licensed professional, like the macro cultivators, just getting home cultivators to maybe donate some of their trim when and where they can. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I think, really the state doesn't have a good plan for overgrowth or compensation for those kind of donations, and I think that if you build that in, it would start flowing. Kush Coach says in Colorado, if you have a medical license, you can get RSO. It's the only way that you can get it. It's $60 to $80 a gram, and I think at basically what dispensaries and manufacturers right now are expected to pay wholesale. I don't think people really understand how much just a handful of cultivators have this entire state by the balls right now, and not just cultivators, but big money players that didn't get cultivation that have essentially bought up all of a cultivator's product. Yeah. They are insisting on MSRPs, but they're not really suggested retail prices. These are the fucking retail prices, and if you don't charge them, we're not going to continue this supply chain for you. And that's a real problem we have. Obviously, it will be addressed a little bit better when more of the 63 cultivation licenses are granted, but a lot of those 63 cultivation licenses are with with a lot of the same companies. I think out of the 63, and I don't remember this off the top of my head, but I think roughly half of them, I think that makes something like 30 and change different companies that are cultivating. In other words, a lot of these license winners are all the same company. Yeah. So, and they got 30,000 square feet of cultivation space for every single license that they have. And speculation here, this is just me speaking out of turn. Some people that won 3 licenses, which is the max, right, are also sitting on the boards or are silent investors in other companies that won 3 licenses, and that's it's kind of what it looks like when you let a handful of people draw up and fight. And I think I don't want to ever put words in anybody's mouth, Kyle, but it's frustrating when we're all kind of think we're working hard towards something, and then when we finally get there, it looks a little bit different. I'm not trying to open a Pandora's box or anything, but
there's just still a lot of work left that needs to be done.
A lot, yeah. And you know what? Someone said that. What was it? November 4th, 2018. Someone said, "Okay, you guys think you scored a touchdown, but you're in the red zone right now. You still got to punch this thing in. There's still 20 yards to go."
I know. I was definitely out there saying stuff like that. I know other people were too.
Yep.
But, it's something else that just occurred to me. If you got someone that's got cancer, the very first thing, and I don't know if you guys know this, but you're aware that you can get an extra doctor's signature and get your monthly purchase limit increased. You're aware of that?
You can double down?
You can increase to whatever you need it
Yeah,
to.
when you have a second recommendation, it ups your possession limits
To whatever
or
the
your
doctor's
purchasing
right.
limits. It doesn't up your cultivation limits, but it does up your possession and purchasing limits, which is a big deal because
That's
if
a
you're
big deal, yeah.
if you're using, and one thing I kind of like about our language is what is considered an MME, because I believe that a gram of RSO is the same as a gram of concentrate. So I believe you're allowed 32, just under one license.
Yep.
You're allowed 32 MMEs a month, right?
That's a lot of RSO.
Yeah.
That's if you're at a gram a day regimen to cause apoptosis.
That would be about I'm not estimating that maybe be like a half a pound worth of flour.
It's a lot, yeah.
that you have
in
to
order
process.
to get you there, to get you to I think
about
somebody
3.5
said
grams per ounce.
There you go. So roughly an ounce a pound, actually, it sounds like, right? Like, I mean, you get about an ounce of RSO from a pound of flour. Is that about right? Can
You
Kush
said
Coach
3.5
anybody?
grams for an ounce, so that's an eighth. So there's 16, so it'd be 2 ounces per pound.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, so
Not
if someone was on, let's just say, a cancer protocol, right, and that was a gram a day, and let's say a gram is 1 MME, 1 gram equals 1 MME. Let's just say that. So your monthly allotment without a second doctor's opinion would allow you to have a gram a day. It would pretty much max it out because you have 31 days in a month. But it wouldn't allow you to buy any flour to smoke. It wouldn't allow you. So you would really want to lean into that second doctor's opinion to be for the medicine that maybe, because also one thing I've noticed with people that are taking RSO at for a regimen like that is your tolerance is going to skyrocket eventually.
It takes about 12 ounces to make a month's worth of RSO.
There you oh really?
12 ounces, so almost that's fucking crazy.
Exactly what it takes, at least that.
Yeah.
To do a gram a day, it takes a lot of dry product.
Mm. And is that premium flour, or is that you using sugar trim and everything, or?
Well, that is somebody that has a really great product. That is not trim.
Maybe if you're using nugs, I mean, trim could be less.
Yeah.
It can be almost, that it's not even worth the trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But my calculation the other day, I think somebody else said it too, about 12 ounces a month to do that. And then when I talk to physicians, they don't even understand.
Yeah, you're speaking fucking Greek to them,
They don't even
and
know
they
that.
all
They
learned
don't
Latin.
believe it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's this belief system we're working with.
Well, I've heard a lot of people off the cuff say things like, I'm sure you've heard this, like, well, if you need more than 4 ounces in a month, like something's wrong with you. So, well, no shit.
Something is wrong. That's why we're here, Doc. Something's fucking wrong.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the whole point of it. So, yeah. So anyway, I so the second doctor's opinion, I believe at that point it doesn't necessarily double your limits. That doctor can then just say you
They
need
could
this
say
amount.
6. What it boils down to is both forms have to be in agreement, and if they're not, then the state goes with the lowest amount. So if one says 4, one says 6, they'll go with 4. But if both say 6, you get 6, which is what I'm authorized every month. My buddy, the
6
one,
ounces?
6 ounces. Okay. My buddy, the one that had leukemia, he survived. I helped him get his card. He 8 ounces every 30 days. So,
Okay.
so that means that when he's growing at home, and he's allowed to have a 90-day supply on hand. That's a pound and a half.
Oh, that's a big difference. I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about what to
So
go.
if you
Yeah, that's the deal.
times
You can
so
be
by 3.
Let's clear this up.
4.5
Like if you're
pounds every,
traveling, you're allowed 2 months worth of medicine with you traveling at any point.
60-day
But
supply.
at home, you're allowed a 90-day supply. Is that correct?
If you're a cultivator, I don't know if
I'm not.
just
Yeah,
patients
I
have a
felt like
90-day
there was.
I have to look at it again.
I'll
but I
have to
know
double check
cultivators-
that. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do feel like it was. I think you are allowed at home at any time they come in. You're allowed a 90-day supply of medicine that is not. That doesn't include your grow because your grow isn't cured or cold, or chopped or anything like that. It's not ready to go. But as far as traveling, you can have a 2 month supply on you at any given time.
If you're a cultivator, you're allowed your full allotment.
Yeah, if you're a cultivator, correct. But if you're just a patient, moving through. But yeah, so a cultivator, I believe, has that same rule for everybody that they're
allowed to keep a separate amount for each person.
Correct.
And I think that's really more key there than it is. You don't necessarily, I guess, if a patient wants to see their plants, you let them see them. But it'd be an issue if in that same room you got 2 plants, so 6 flowering, right? So 2 plants per patient. They're not supposed to be able to mess with the other 4. So, but as long as they can always get their medicine, they'd be able to come up there and be able to access their medicine like at the drop of a hat. That's kind of the.
I love it, man. Anything else we want to touch on before we wrap this up?
I'll tell you this. On the way here, I was listening to that song Money for Nothing, and you want to talk about a song that doesn't age well? Because I have a feeling that if people heard it now, if we made it now and you said, you got to install microwave ovens, custom kitchen, we got to move these color TVs.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
My 4-year walks over is like, this is easy. What are you talking about?
Dude, no doubt.
I love that song. That's a great song.
I love all things Dire Straits, but you're right. Like my kids will never know the my kids will never know the challenge of moving a wooden boxed 28-inch Zenith that weighs 286 pounds across the living room floor when their fucking 50-inch flat screen's like, woo! Hey guys, where do you want me to put this thing here? You need me to hold it up on the wall while you screw some holes in? Like, we'd be dying with legs trembling underneath us, just getting it over to the corner. That's a great point. Guys, anything else? Wrap this bad boy up. It's been a fun Tuesday. Kyle, thank you, man. That was a great little conversation. I'm looking forward to reading your essay that you sent off. Coach, I know that's a really touchy subject, and I want to get into that a little bit more. There was a friend of his who was on a real heavy FECO regimen, and it was working. She was taking a bunch. I can't even remember the numbers that he was saying, but it was a bunch. And the touchy subject, because the doctors and lawmakers, DA, don't understand the product, saying having 3 ounces of RSO was excess, but the patient was using. The patient wasn't peddling RSO. The patient was using every bit of RSO that they were making.
It'll be gone.
Come on, man. It's tough. It's really tough. That's it. I just got it. It depends on how much you are working with. 1 to 2 ounces per pound, assuming it's good flour. Trim will get you less. Awesome. Guys, we're going to keep the conversation going. We do want cultivators, home cultivators and caregivers to kind of claim their power a little bit, because this is a problem that we're going to have to solve in the community and not look to the industry to solve it, because the industry, first off, the industry is run by a government department that the head of that department honestly doesn't believe that cannabis is medicine. He's said that time and again. He thinks it's as harming as opiates. And then the people at the top of the program that are actually bringing product to market really have no plans to make FECO, because they don't see a money-making avenue with it, because once they're expected to make it, they feel as though they're going to be expected to give it away. And so even if they were selling RSO at minimum wholesale, if manufacturers or dispensaries were moving this product at cost from the cultivators, that still looks like about $80 a gram, which is a fucking travesty. So it's going to take a caregiver collective. It's going to take, we'll call it guerrilla healthcare. Instead of guerrilla warfare, we'll call it guerrilla healthcare. We need as many boots on the ground, learning how to cultivate great medicine and then process great medicine so that people can help out. Love the show, going live in the group to explain my solventless method. Do that, Coach. That sounds really cool.
I'm curious.
As soon as he hears the cowabunga, well, that sounds like he's calling his shot here, guys. That's what we do. We end every show with the simple words that Master Splinter gave to all of his eager turtle tutors.
Turtle tutors.
Tutored turtles. And that is cowabunga.